Ready for a deadly joke, global shadows tremble at one name. The monster known as Peter. He rests upon a mountain of corpses. The horror isn't the carnage. It's that he's 60 years old. A trembling survivor gasps in the dark. Peter could have died a legend. Before the world's elite assassins hunted him, he speaks to a masked stranger. The organization is closing in. Could this mocking mask be Peter himself? He stands amidst a fresh graveyard of hunters. The truth is terrifyingly clear. Recognizing him changes nothing. Millions more will hunt him until death. Legend or not, he can't run forever. How has he stayed a ghost? The legend leans in, eyes cold. Do you want the answer? I'm invisible even when surrounded. Slowly, the mocking mask comes off. Reality shatters for the survivor. He stares at the impossible face revealed. Death strikes as the secret is told. 3 months ago, in a quiet bookstore. An old man hangs a sale sign. Voices beg him to stop working. Go to the hospital or you'll die. You have only 3 months left. He eyes the pile of bitter medicine. Death is just an old friend. He's danced on the edge too often. 50 years served in the shadows. A lifetime of killing, 0 regrets. He realizes he has no photos. A ghost with no record. Suddenly, a schoolgirl enters the shop. She needs elementary textbooks. He offers a warm, grandfatherly smile. My shop holds every book imaginable. She asks for cheap, used copies. From the 60s to today. These are for my brother, she says. He scans the shelves, reading her. You're a high schooler, aren't you? 3rd year, based on your badge. She's stunned by his sharp eyes. Her requested books are already wrapped. I can't afford these, she stammers. Take them, the old man insists. Better they are read than gather dust. She tries to decline his charity. I see how you love your brother. Be good to him while you can, or regret will consume your future. She accepts the gift, looking curious. Have you ever regretted anything? The longer you live, the heavier the debt. Regret is the price of survival. He remembers a girl stolen by fate. It was our only choice, they said. Some ghosts never truly leave you. You're too young to understand this. Protect your brother with everything. Don't let your heart bleed later. Now leave. Go before I kill you. Ignore your mission to end my life. The girl freezes in sudden terror. He knew her plan from the start. I've memorized every student in this city. Your school lie was your first mistake. That school only goes to grade 11. You walked right into my trap. You can't mask the scent of blood. Perfume won't hide your hidden blade. He smelled that stench for 60 years. Exposed, she realizes the deadly gap. She lunges with desperate, trembling duty, but his iron gaze halts her heart. Armed, yet she feels like the prey. One move means her certain end. His cold stare softens into a package. He hands over the wrapped textbooks. Your love for your brother was real. Take these and leave this path. 50 years of killing taught me everything. I see the truth in one glance. You're from Glory Orphanage, like me, a rookie who knows nothing of survival. Drawing from his ruthless training, he reveals the organization's grim protocol for when a high-stakes mission fails. Executing Plan B, he lunges toward the girl as the elderly warrior prepares to unleash a desperate gambit. The veteran seizes her as confusion takes hold, but a sudden threat from above forces her eyes upward. 2 hidden executioners emerge to strike. Peter becomes a human shield, defying a lethal hail of gunfire. He coldly explains the true nature of Plan B, eliminating every witness and agent alongside the primary target. Horrified, the girl realizes Peter has taken a bullet to the gut while serving as her unwavering protector. Despite the agonizing wound, the legendary soldier rises, aiming his weapon to neutralize the twin threats above. Disaster strikes as they seize the girl. Peter hesitates, and a brutal punch sends the veteran reeling backward. The assassin mocks the fallen legend, laughing at how easily the once-feared ghost has been brought low. A 3rd predator emerges, admitting that while Peter's reputation is legendary, his time has finally run out. This informant for the kingpin Octopus sneers, claiming even a legend can't outrun sickness and old age. Rage flickers in Peter's eyes as he demands the truth behind this betrayal and the order to kill. Octopus reveals that retirement was never an option. A staggering bounty of 76 billion won demands his head. Our hero realizes with a shock that the price on his soul matches his entire life's accumulated fortune. The informant confirms the cruel irony. His own blood money will now serve as the reward for his killer. Consumed by greed, Octopus obsesses over the treasure, demanding the life of the legendary Peter right now. The executioner strikes again, telling the old man to embrace a quiet death as he delivers brutal blows. Peter is hurled into the next room like trash. The assassin sighs, disappointed by the legend's pathetic end. As the villains close in to confirm the kill, Peter offers one final, blinding gift to his pursuers. A flash grenade explodes. Using the chaos, the veteran vanishes through the back, leaving the killers in shock. The informant growls that a wounded man won't get far, ordering a relentless hunt for the escaping ghost. Left behind in the wreckage, the girl can only stare in disbelief at the impossible violence she witnessed. Collapsed in a rainy park, Peter struggles to breathe. He curses the frail, aging body that betrayed him. Fading into darkness, his life flashes before his eyes, a life forged and chained by the organization's cruelty. He recalls the brutal days of learning the blade, transformed from a boy into a cold-blooded killing machine. While others lived normal lives, he mastered the arts of hacking, surveillance, and the science of silent death. From frozen Russian frontiers to warring terrorist cells, he survived every hell the world could offer him. Everything shattered when the new boss took over, viewing Peter's declining health as a flaw to be erased. Deemed a broken tool, the order for disposal was given. Our protagonist realizes his loyalty meant absolutely nothing. He never asked for glory or honor. He only wanted the peace he had earned through decades of blood. He refuses to let them steal his life, and the money meant to protect his precious daughter's future. As he bleeds out into the mud, the scene shifts to the lair where greedy assassins mourn their prize. They curse their luck, believing the massive bounty vanished the moment Peter drew his final, lonely breath. One fixates on the legend's history, but the other scoffs in their world. Only cold, hard cash matters. Staring at an old photo of their target, they dream of the riches they lost until a stranger interrupts. A young man stands before them, draped in Peter's clothes, commenting on the ancient photograph in his hand. Confused, the killers see a youth with dark hair, yet his voice carries a chillingly familiar, heavy weight. The stranger mutters about his confusion, waking up in a body that shouldn't exist after facing certain death. An assassin tries to shove the student away, unaware he is touching the most dangerous man alive. With a lightning-fast grip, the youth demands to see Octopus, radiating a terrifying pressure that freezes the room. They recognize the predator's aura immediately. He is one of them, but far more lethal than they imagined. They move to kill the intruder, but Peter catches the incoming strike with effortless, godlike precision and grace. The killer's heart sinks as he feels the familiar, overwhelming strength that once defined the legendary Peter. A sickening crunch echoes as Peter pulverizes the man's fist, reclaiming the power of his prime once more. As a second blade lunges from the shadows, Peter counters with a devastating blur of high-speed violence. He neutralized the hitman with terrifying ease. Pinning him down, he demanded to know who ordered the hit. Peter scoffed, explaining that knife wielders are mere third-rate hacks. True masters, they transcend steel. Grabbing a stray octopus, he stared down his prey. A legendary assassin makes a weapon of anything. The hitman stood frozen, baffled by the ridiculous choice. But Peter wasn't joking. His gaze was lethal. As the assassin lunged, Peter lashed out. The octopus became a deadly whip, stripping the enemy's blade. Tentacles constricted like a death grip. With a roar, Peter slammed him toward the heavy pots. He hurled the hitman into boiling liquid. The impact was so violent, the entire vessel shattered. Broken and burned, the assassin could only wonder, who was this monster? Peter grabbed a nearby photo. It was his own bounty. He studied the image, hoping this was their only laid on his face. The truth was impossible. Upon waking after the ambush, time had somehow reversed for his body. He ignited a cigarette and watched the photo burn. "That Peter is dead," he declared, revealing his youth. Meanwhile, the villainous octopus fumed in his car. He'd lost the trail of his ultimate prize. He ordered his men to hunt Peter down. He assumed the old man was already rotting from cancer. "He should have died quietly," he sneered. Elsewhere, Peter kicked open the doors to the villain's lair. The restaurant was empty. Octopus had survived today, but his luck was running out. Disappearing into the subway, Peter retreated. Bystanders stared at the strange, shirtless youth in the restroom. He gazed into the mirror, breathless. His muscles were tight, his skin flawless. Rebirth was real. The terminal cancer was gone. Even the fresh bullet wound had vanished without a trace. He had truly returned to his prime. Could destiny really grant such a miracle? This was the perfect cover. Nobody would ever suspect a school-aged boy of being a legendary killer. But first, he needed a disguise. His current rags would draw too much unwanted attention. He overheard two lowlives bragging about an 80 million won scam. They'd preyed on a dying woman's son. They laughed, mocking the victim's desperation and his failure to read their trap of a contract. They puffed smoke in a restricted zone, flaunting designer suits bought with blood money. One bragged that his expensive watch acted as the perfect bait for his next unsuspecting victims. Peter approached, his voice cold. He told them to extinguish their cigarettes immediately. The thugs bristled, barking about showing respect to their elders. One swung a heavy slap at Peter's face. Peter took the hit, eyes darkening. He turned toward the exit as they jeered at his cowardice. But instead of leaving, he locked the door. It was time for a very private lesson. The thugs sneered as he approached again. They had no idea they were facing a god of death. Peter rolled up his sleeves. "Let me teach you what real respect looks like," he whispered. The first thug lunged for another strike. In a flash, Peter countered with two surgical, bone-breaking blows. As his partner crumpled, the second pulled a blade. Peter didn't even flinch at the steel. "You're holding that wrong," Peter remarked coldly. He began dissecting the amateur's pathetic grip. He warned the man that swinging like that would only result in losing his own fingers. The thug shook with rage, but Peter wasn't finished. A real killer never leaves his arm exposed. The man charged. Peter blurred, disarming him instantly before delivering a soul-shattering punch. As the thug shrieked, Peter loomed over him. "Be grateful. If I'd used the knife, you'd be a corpse." Trembling, the man gasped out a question. "Who are you?" Peter leaned in, his aura suffocating. Squeezing the man's shoulder, he whispered the truth. "If you knew my name, you wouldn't survive the night." He glanced down at the man, who had literally sold himself in terror. These pants were ruined. Leaving the carnage, he checked his accounts. 76 billion won, vanished into thin air. Peter marched through the station, draped in the criminal's stolen suit, his fury simmering. He scoffed at the irony. Apparently, his life's work was only worth that much to his betrayers. A girl's voice caught his ear, mentioning a scholarship from the Glory Club. Peter paused, remembering his roots. 50 years ago, the Glory Orphanage was a house of God. Today, it's a vicious cartel known as the Glory Club. Ruling politics and the underworld, this empire was Peter's home, and now it is his primary target for total annihilation. While Peter vows to destroy them, a butcher shop becomes a stage for terror as a criminal is hunted down. The hunter was Octopus, a man whose very presence screamed death. He cornered his prey with cold, calculating eyes. Octopus sneered, calling the thug pathetic compared to the legendary Peter. The criminal barked back about the risks of youth. Octopus didn't care for survival lectures. He simply wanted to end things quickly and painfully for his terrified target. The criminal burst into laughter, thinking Octopus was overconfident. He had already summoned the elite vacuum mercenary company for backup. Believing his reinforcements would change the tide, the thug mocked Octopus, certain that numbers would win the day. He didn't understand why Octopus was so cocky, since he wasn't one of the 12 apostles of the Glory Club. With a roar, he ordered his subordinates to swarm. They charged, unaware they were walking into a slaughterhouse. Moments later, the criminal was paralyzed by fear. He sat in a pool of blood, witnessing something utterly inhuman. Octopus moved like a twisted demon, contorting his limbs with a sickening crunch as he dismantled the entire squad. Using hyperflexibility, he snapped bones and twisted bodies like toys. The subordinates were erased in a heartbeat of gore. After the massacre, Octopus turned to his next move. Meanwhile, he learned that Peter had struck his men elsewhere. When it was confirmed that no evidence remained, Octopus knew only one monster was capable of such clean, lethal work. He realized Peter was hunting them from the shadows. The ghost of the past had finally come to collect his debt. As a mysterious girl followed Peter, Octopus worried about the expiring bounty. He needed to kill Peter and fast. "Report his location the second you find him," Octopus barked, unaware that the Reaper was already at his front door. The girl recalled her journey with Peter as they stepped into the restaurant. The air grew heavy with impending doom. A subordinate mentioned they were open, asking the young man if he had made a reservation for the evening. "I don't have a reservation," the boy replied, his voice cold as ice. "I only have a long-standing blood grudge." He mentioned 76 billion, the exact sum that would trigger Octopus's darkest memories and make his heart skip a beat. Realizing the connection to Peter, Octopus ordered the doors locked. He swore the boy wouldn't leave the room alive. But Peter looked different, young and rejuvenated. Octopus stared at the stranger, unable to recognize the legend he once knew. He wondered if this boy was Peter's son or a disciple. Either way, he was a threat that needed questioning. Octopus offered two grim paths: reveal Peter's location and live, or stay silent and suffer a slow, agonizing death. He threatened to let his goons tear the boy apart, but the protagonist didn't even flinch at the warning. Our hero just kept eating, casually provoking the informant with every bite, treating the death threat like a minor inconvenience. The informant mocked his survival chances, but the boy just smirked, suggesting a third, far more terrifying option. "I am Peter," he declared calmly. The revelation hung in the air like a death sentence, leaving Octopus completely stunned. "Are your ears failing you?" Peter mocked. "I'm the one who slaughtered your men. I'm the monster you're looking for." Octopus refused to believe this youth was the legendary killer. He demanded the truth, his patience wearing dangerously thin. He reminded the boy that real guns were aimed at his head, demanding to know his true link to Peter. Glancing at the girl, Peter realized there was no more time for talk. It was time for a lethal demonstration. He picked up his food, telling Octopus that killing him would be the only way to simplify this chaotic mess. Octopus ordered his subordinate to cripple him. A gun was raised, aimed directly at the boy's vital points. Suddenly, the guard collapsed. A sharp object had pierced his neck before he could even register the boy's movement. The girl gasped in horror. A single chopstick was buried in the man's throat, delivered with impossible surgical precision. The other chopstick was lodged in the gun's barrel. She realized he was her age, yet possessed godlike combat skills. No one in the Glory Club or the entire country had this level of mastery. He was a walking disaster. Octopus grinned, mistaking the feat for pure luck. He offered the boy a chance to join his criminal ranks. Then, in a flash of rage, Octopus opened fire. Peter instantly flipped a heavy table to shield himself from the lead. "You're still too green," the informant laughed. "A wooden table can't stop bullets, you arrogant little brat." Reloading his weapon, Octopus stalked closer. He demanded the location of the real Peter one last time before finishing him. "It's a waste of talent," he sneered, leaning over the table to deliver the final, killing blow to the boy. Octopus lunges for the kill, but his target has vanished. That crimson splatter, it is just common sauce. Scouring the shadows, the assassin grows frantic. He expected a child, but he is hunting a restless ghost. Fury boils over until he spots him. Peter is perched high above, his mouth stuffed with something hidden. Before Octopus can react, Peter sprays a torrent of sauce into his eyes. The predator is blinded instantly. A heavy strike shatters the killer's aim. Peter strikes with the cold precision of a seasoned combat veteran. With lightning speed, Peter dismantles the pistol into scrap. Then, a brutal, one-sided beatdown truly begins. Each blow is a blur. The informant trembles, realizing this child possesses the speed of a divine monster. A sickening crack echoes as Peter twists his neck. Octopus lies broken, awestruck by such lethal, legendary grace. In his final moments, memories surface. He recalls the forbidden tactic of striking when a guard is lowered. He remembers his ultimate trump card, total flexibility. It was a skill forged through years of agonizing torture. Trainers pushed his joints past the breaking point, all to create a spineless killer who defied human anatomy. Never turn your back on the fallen, they warned. Overconfidence is the quickest path to a cold grave. Armed with this lethal pride, Octopus refused to believe a mere brat could ever truly end him. Suddenly, his hand snakes out. He ensnares Peter's leg, coiling around him like a starving, vengeful serpent. "I have been killing since you were in diapers," he hisses, crushing the boy's ribs with veteran malice. He delivers the finishing blow, or so he thinks. Then, a chilling voice asks if he is finished. Octopus looks up in horror. Peter is standing safely away, watching him with cold and bored eyes. The body he just mangled was his own dead subordinate. This realization feels like a final death sentence. Every survival instinct he owns is screaming. This boy isn't just strong, he is a natural-born apex reaper. Could he truly surpass the 12 apostles? Terrified, the predator transforms into a pathetic, begging coward. He offers a young girl as a sacrifice. "Take her. She is useless to me but valuable to you." The girl's pleas are ignored. Octopus only cares about escaping the monster that is standing before him. Peter gives a slow, haunting nod. Relieved, the coward believes he has actually bought his own freedom. He promises to stay silent while scurrying away. Secretly, he plans to sell every detail about the boy. But then, Peter whispers a secret. He mentions the exact do-or-die tactic from Octopus's past. The assassin freezes. Those words. Only one man should know them. The puzzle pieces finally click together. He stares at the boy and sees it. That suffocating, murderous aura. This is the legendary, invincible Peter. The legends are true, he gasps. But Peter is already a blur of death, closing the distance instantly. Bones snap like dry twigs. In seconds, Octopus is nothing but a pile of twisted, lifeless remains. Back at headquarters, the superiors receive the grim news. Every camera was removed before they reached the scene. On a skyscraper rooftop, the leader laughs. He continues his one-armed push-ups, unfazed by the sudden loss. A 76 billion won bounty is announced. Every assassin in glory is now authorized to hunt the ghost. Across the city, digital billboards flicker. A child points at a strange and new public broadcast. It is a fake ad for elderly welfare, featuring Peter's photo. They are flushing him into the open. Peter navigates the crowd, realizing the net is tightening. Glory is using the entire world as their eyes. He clutches a propaganda flyer. "Let them look," he muses. "I am the one coming for them now." To dismantle an empire, he needs an ally. Only one person fits, though the thought truly stings. He arrives at a fortified ruin. The air is thick with the stench of desperation and human decay. Inside, the floor is carpeted with broken souls. The cities forgotten are huddling together in total misery. Navigating the sea of bodies, he scans the walls. He is searching for a very specific hidden mark. Amidst ads for organs and filth, he finds the trigger. A secret door grinds open in the stone. Below the rot lies a den of opulence. Peter notes the expensive renovations with a look of disgust. Suddenly, cold steel touches his throat. A lethal presence emerges from the expensive and silk shadows. "Fancy clothes don't hide your scent," Peter remarks. He is staring down a blind, yet deadly woman. She smiles, her cane leveled at his heart. Beside her, a massive hound growls, sensing a predator. Even though peace reigned, she sensed blood was about to spill. The legendary Reaper began to catch his scent, realizing this man didn't reek of alcohol like the local vagabonds. She sensed a terrifying bloodlust, proving he was far more than a petty thief. Defending herself, she lunged with her cane, demanding if Glory sent him. Peter easily dodged. Though she struck relentlessly, Peter danced around her attacks until she cornered him against the wall. She hurled her cane with lethal force, warning him about the expensive wallpaper as he evaded. He stared at the weapon embedded deep in the wall, his mind analyzing the situation. Peter wondered if she was truly blind, given her god-tier skills and arrogant self-praise. He finally countered, grabbing her leg and flipping her before tossing her onto the sofa. The fight shifted as she pulled a knife, stunned that Glory had such a skilled monster. Noticing his bloodlust had vanished, she remarked that while unpleasant, a job was a job. Someone had to die today. She ordered her beastly dog, 𝒊𝒍𝒍𝒊𝒕𝒂𝒓𝒚, to eliminate him. The massive hound charged, but Peter tamed the beast instantly, leaving the girl speechless. After the tension settled and Peter explained the truth, she was staggered by his rejuvenation. Touching his smooth face, she wondered if this miraculous youth was even scientifically possible. Suddenly, she and King flopped onto the floor, leaving our protagonist completely bewildered. She jokingly asked if this position led to rebirth, wishing to try the miracle herself. She pressed him for the secret, asking exactly what killed him so she could follow suit. After a playful tap to her forehead, Peter revealed his master plan to dismantle Glory. He intended to walk directly into the eye of the storm, leaving her utterly confused. He would exploit Glory's search for him, placing the entire organization in his palm. His goal was to infiltrate the Glory Club as an assassin. It sounded absolutely insane. Since he had rejuvenated, his old identity was a ghost, making him the ultimate undercover predator. The thought of him playing them like fiddles excited her. He truly was a terrifying man. Peter countered her wit, but she reminded him that only orphanage graduates become Glory assassins. The legendary Peter was from that orphanage, but this young version was a complete outsider. Peter smirked, claiming there was a way. The next day, a legendary aura entered the building. A crowd of girls gasped, mesmerized by the strikingly handsome new student walking the halls. Peter's grand plan had begun. He was now a student at the elite Divine Honor School. Under the alias Kim Soo, his presence alone made every girl in the vicinity swoon. A student invited him to the auditorium, and his voice sent shivers down their spines. As he headed inside, even the teachers were captivated by his peerless visual and charm. While it appeared prestigious, this was secretly a breeding ground for high-level professional killers. Students were discreetly trained in the art of murder. Peter intended to dominate that class. He would blend in while climbing the ranks. Suddenly, a message arrived from the blind girl. She questioned how he'd bypass the strict orphanage-only rule of the secret assassin class. He knew a rare exception existed. Peter stepped onto the stage, ready to shock the world. He began his introduction, his cold charisma captivating every single student in the room. After listing mundane hobbies, he dropped a bombshell. He wanted to become a legendary assassin. The entire auditorium froze in shock, including the blind girl and her dog watching afar. This was the bait. Peter had successfully caught the attention of the elite killing squad. To mask his intent, he claimed he wanted to be an assassin who excelled academically. The students began to mock his dream, but then a bully pushed a girl aside. A group of thugs gathered before him. Peter smiled. His plan was working perfectly. The lead bully stepped forward, sneering at the new student who dared to talk big. A girl named Yen had fallen for Peter. Her former flame began sobbing like a child. This was Yang Yel. He had dated the school's top beauty for 22 whole days. But Peter's arrival changed everything. Yel screamed that the transfer student stole his heart's desire. Consumed by rage, Yel charged. He was the legendary fighter who conquered the entire Mapo district. But as Peter countered, 𝒊𝒊𝒐𝒂𝒓𝒔 felt the cold breath of death. The protagonist's gaze was bone-chilling. He saw his end approaching. He wept, regretting his failure to protect the girl he loved. It was all dramatic delusion. Peter stopped short, delivering a simple, mocking flick to his forehead. 𝒊𝒊𝒐𝒂𝒓𝒔 collapsed instantly, trembling in terror. But a new problem appeared before the dust settled. A corrupt staff member arrived, waving a red card. He grabbed Peter's cheek with total arrogance. He demanded to know Peter's father's status. Peter coldly replied that he was likely already dead. While Peter was hauled away, 𝒊𝒊𝒐𝒂𝒓𝒔 made pathetic excuses. Meanwhile, the assassin class watched closely. These hidden killers debated Peter's fate. They needed to uncover the secrets of this mysterious newcomer. They wondered if he was a toy or a target. Perhaps killing him was the simplest solution. While the teacher barked, girls swooned. But Octopus's subordinate, Yuna, felt a wave of pure dread. She feared Peter was here to annihilate everyone. The next morning, she received a sudden shock. Someone asked to sit beside her. It was the legendary soldier himself, staring her right down. She panicked, but Peter stayed calm. He noted the students were following him and asked her why. She claimed she wasn't hungry despite her massive meal. Peter watched her with a skeptical eye. Her mind flashed back to their bloody past. Peter had told her how to survive the massacre. She trembled, asking why he returned. She had kept her promise and remained completely silent. Peter wasn't hunting her, though. She hissed that the company had been monitoring her every move. She blamed him for her suffering. Peter reminded her that she only breathed because of him. She claimed her survival was hers alone. Peter warned that she didn't grasp this school's true horror. He knew the shadows were watching. The girl turned to leave, dismissing his warnings as nonsense. Peter asked for her cooperation instead. He needed an ally in this den of hidden vipers. He whispered her true name, Yuna. Before she could react, he had vanished like smoke. Days later, the school festival began. The reigning track star, Jonathan, prepared for his final victory. But Jonathan realized his career was over. Peter was gliding past him with effortless, godlike speed. Jonathan wept alongside 𝒊𝒊𝒐𝒂𝒓𝒔 afterward. Meanwhile, a mysterious figure watched Peter from the dark. During medical exams, Peter's vision proved superhuman. Every line on the chart was crystal clear. Next was home economics class. The teacher warned him to be careful with the sharp blades. With surgical precision, Peter carved a masterpiece. He created an apple rabbit that looked truly alive. The teacher was speechless at such talent. Elsewhere, delinquent students were cornering another faculty member. They refused to clean, filming the teacher's misery. They mocked his authority with total lack of fear. They dared him to try and punish them. The poor man's threats fell on deaf ears. They threatened to ruin his career instead. They weaponized the law to keep him completely silent. Their arrogance reached a boiling point. The group leader violently shoved the teacher against some equipment. He laughed, saying a lost license was worse than bad grades. The teacher was physically trapped. They prepared to leak the humiliating video. Suddenly, Peter appeared, holding a cup and a bin. He calmly asked if they were assaulting the faculty. The three bullies tried to intimidate him. They told the transfer student to keep walking. Peter asked what would happen if he stayed. The leader spat on Peter's uniform and laughed. He didn't realize he just signed his death warrant. He told Peter to vanish quietly. Peter asked once more what the consequences would be. Enraged, the leader swung with full force. Peter danced around the blows like a flickering shadow. The leader's friends began to jeer. Frustrated, he wondered why his fists couldn't touch the newcomer. A crushing kick sends the bully eating dirt. His friend tries a cowardly back attack with a brick. Before the strike lands, the newcomer pulverizes the brick. His speed is beyond human comprehension. Terrified, the punks beg for mercy and flee. They scream about justice while running like rats. Peter smirks. Winners write the rules of justice. He then turns to check on his teacher's safety. The teacher tries to lecture him, but Peter plays dumb. He's focused on the bully's recording phone. They left evidence of their own crimes behind. The teacher senses a dangerous soul beneath Peter's skin. Suddenly, the teacher launches a lethal kick. Peter deflects the strike with effortless, cold precision. The teacher's suspicions are confirmed. This is no ordinary student. He notices the cup in Peter's hand. Despite the high-speed clash, not a single drop of coffee spilled. Who is this kid truly? Peter speaks of a thirst for vengeance. His eyes burn with the cold fire of a predator. He's a man who lost everything. To the world, he is already a ghost among the living. Professor Lee invites him to the volunteer club, the school's secret training ground for elite killers. Everything is going according to plan. Peter needed Lee Guangyu to take the bait. Guangyu is the legendary instructor for the Glory Club. The recruitment process has finally begun. This club is a facade for shadow assassins. Peter's monstrous talent hasn't gone unnoticed by the elite. He's led to the inner sanctum, the birthplace of the next generation of legendary shadow killers. Inside, it looks like a normal classroom, but these students are all trained to kill. Guangyu demands silence as he introduces the transfer. The atmosphere turns heavy with killing intent. Yuna watches in horror. She knows the monster hiding behind that youthful, handsome face. Peter catches her eye and winks playfully. Yuna trembles, fearing she might be his next target. Our hero greets the class with a humble smile. He finds their assassin training almost cute. Two hot-headed bullies, the Doko brothers, aren't impressed. They challenge his right to be there. They claim only orphans from the honor house belong. They treat him like a weak intruder. Little do they know, Peter was the greatest orphan of them all. The teacher suggests a duel. It's time for a welcome party. In this world, that means a brutal rite of passage. They call it the bloody punch. Weapons are drawn, and the air turns sharp with steel. Peter sees their stances and recognizes the Glory style. They are merely amateurs compared to him. Yuna tries to intervene, not to save Peter, but to save the brothers from certain death. Jay mocks her, unaware he's standing on the edge of a bottomless, dark abyss. The Doko brothers close in, eager to taste blood. They think he's just all talk. Peter claims he knows a little. In reality, he's survived thousands of death matches. They charge with a roar, but Peter strikes before they can even blink their eyes. Guangyu watches as the brothers struggle. They preach about the heavy weight of their lives. Their dream, to become the next Apostle Peter. They worship the man they're currently fighting. They mock the protagonist for being a nepotist. They have no idea who stands before them. Peter is bored of their amateur games. He tells them both to attack at once. Enraged, the brothers unleash 18 years of training. Their coordination is fierce and desperate. But Peter has 65 years of blood-soaked experience. Their effort is nothing but child's play. The brothers think they've won as Peter backs away. They're gasping for air, drenched in sweat. The class scoffs, thinking the newcomer is just a coward. Peter simply walks through the corridors. Yuna corners him in the hallway. She's the only one who saw the terrifying truth. She accuses him of holding back. She saw the massive gap in their combat power. During the fight, Peter didn't even use a fraction of his strength. He was playing. While the brothers were exhausted, Peter didn't even break a sweat. The act is over. She pins him against the wall, demanding answers. Why is a monster hiding in this classroom? Cornered in the hallway, she demands to know his endgame. Why is a powerhouse like him hiding? Peter's eyes turn cold. Are you sure you can handle the truth? Before she can react, he slips away. He jokes it's lunchtime despite the midnight sky. Elsewhere, a bus driver celebrates a massive secret payday. 1,000,000 won just to rent a bus. To the driver, it felt like winning the lottery. But when the client arrives, his jaw drops. Instead of a group, he finds only one solitary figure. Where are the others? The driver asks. The man hands over a heavy case. Just me. He reveals a mountain of luggage that needs loading, an impossible amount for a single passenger. Grumbling, the driver hauls the heavy cargo. What kind of person travels with this much weight? Suddenly, the man's grip tightens on the driver's wrist. He offers a chilling, sudden wager. He leans in close, his voice a freezing whisper. Try and guess what's truly inside these bags. Shaken to his core, the driver declines. He stays focused on the road, watching his passenger nervously. The mysterious traveler sits in eerie silence, arms crossed. His presence is suffocating, yet strangely calm. Suddenly, a suitcase twitches. Something is alive inside. Meanwhile, the volunteer club receives a legendary visitor. It's President Choi of the DEA group. The winning team receives a recommendation that changes everything. This was a fast track into the world of elite killers. Peter and Yuna's eyes sparkled. A promotion was finally within reach. For two hidden elites, this was an opportunity they couldn't miss. The mission, a high-stakes recovery. A shadow had fallen over the city as teenagers began vanishing. Among the victims was the president's only son. This wasn't just work, it was a rescue mission. Why us and not the police? A student stammered. This felt like a job for seasoned veterans. The president doesn't want justice, he wants blood. The target is simple, bring the boy back alive. Not a single hand rose. The heavy atmosphere of death was enough to paralyze the entire class. Fine, the teacher sneered. Refuse and wait 2 more years to become professional assassins. Ambition finally outweighed fear as the Doko brothers stepped up, but they weren't alone. Peter and Yuna had also volunteered. The brothers erupted in laughter, seeing only weaklings in their way. What are you thinking? Yuna hissed at Peter. She couldn't believe he was jumping into this fire. The brothers thought it'd be a simple street fight. They had no idea what was truly coming. The details of the mission left the room in shock. The reality of the situation finally sank in. Peter's path back to the top was clear. The legendary assassin's next battlefield, a crowded amusement park. They arrived at a festival of lights. Dancers in vibrant costumes paraded through the cheering, chaotic crowd. The Doko brothers were instantly hypnotized by the girls. Is this a mission or a vacation? Yuna sighed, snacking as she watched the brothers drool. Their lack of focus was absolutely pathetic. Peter was suddenly surrounded by admirers, but Yuna's eyes remained sharp. The hunt had already begun. She replayed the briefing in her head. This colorful park was the last known trace of the boy. Rescue the hostage and eliminate the kidnappers. But in this crowd, could the boy still be breathing? She glanced at Peter, wondering if this man of mystery could actually solve the impossible puzzle. Peter pointed toward a restricted area. Yuna marveled at his intuition. Did he already have a lead? Reservations only, the guard barked. Their path was blocked by a wall of strict park bureaucracy. Yuna's temper flared into a loud argument. The surrounding crowd turned to watch the drama unfold. Amidst the chaos, Peter overheard a secret. Just download the app, a voice whispered nearby. While she stressed, the brothers were busy riding mechanical cats. The sheer stupidity was staggering. Fuming, Yuna dragged Peter toward a shooting gallery. Maybe some target practice would clear her head. The booth owner grinned like a shark. He de-weighted the dolls, making a win mathematically impossible. Yuna gripped the plastic rifle, her eyes narrowing. She'd never held a toy, only lethal weapons. The attendant saw a payday, not a predator. He was about to learn a very expensive lesson. Bang, bang, bang. She cleared the rack in seconds, leaving the scammer in absolute, soul-crushing shock. Peter stands apart, watching his crew with a gaze that has seen too much. They're laughing, truly laughing. This is a rare moment of peace. Our main character realizes this might be their very first time here. Remembering the hellish training of their childhood, he decides to let them cherish these fleeting seconds of joy. In their world, happiness is a luxury. Suddenly, Yuna slips away, her professional instincts overriding the fun. While grabbing a snack, her senses flare up. A familiar frequency pings on her device, the hostage's AirPods. The signal is active. The president's son is nearby, but the location makes her pause in total confusion. It's coming from the ladies' room. Suspecting a thief or a trap, Yuna decides to scout it out. Should she call for backup? No, a legendary operative handles things quietly. She steps into the lion's den. Everything seems normal. Yet the signal points directly to a girl casually fixing her makeup in the mirror. Yuna approaches, masking her deadly intent with a smile, hoping to extract information without causing a scene. But her friendly face is a mask of pure terror. The poor woman sees a predator's grin. Just then, the woman's boyfriend charges in, hearing her cries for help against a supposed attacker. He's looking for a fight, unaware he's facing a human weapon. Yuna tries to de-escalate, but it's futile. As his fist flies, Yuna's eyes turn cold. She analyzes his every movement with lethal, calculated precision. Elsewhere, the team notices Yuna's absence. While the others worry, Peter remains completely calm and collected. He knows her strength better than anyone. Whatever threat she faces, it is the enemy who should fear. In a blur of motion, Yuna parries the blow. The gap in their skill is like heaven and earth. She pins him instantly, a sharp lollipop stick pressed against his throat. One move, and it is over. She catches herself just in time. The urge to kill is a shadow she is still trying to outrun. With a chilling aura, she leaves the man trembling and turns her focus back to the terrified girl. She demands the truth about the AirPods. Meanwhile, Peter's god-tier visuals are causing a literal riot nearby. Yuna reunites with the group, lead in hand, but Peter's sharp mind has already reached the same conclusion. The park's chaotic energy is the perfect cover. The kidnapper chose a place where screams are expected. A place where violence can be masked by theatrical horror. Peter points toward the deserted haunted house. Despite being sold out, no one has entered all day. The scent of a trap is thick now. The playtime is over. The legendary soldiers lock in, their eyes hardening as they approach the dark entrance. Every step is tactical. The mission is the only thing that matters as they step into the darkness. Helen clings to Yuna, annoying her even now, but Peter remains focused on the void waiting ahead. There is a deafening silence where there should be ghosts. Peter senses the killing intent hidden nearby. He commands them to be ready. The real battle is beginning, and the atmosphere turns freezing cold. It is a setup. Peter realizes they are being lured in to reach the hostages' true location. White gas fills the room. They let themselves be taken, drifting into a calculated unconsciousness as figures loom. Back at base, Professor Guang Yu is livid. He storms the office, sensing his students are in peril. The director cannot track them, and the professor drops a name that makes the air turn cold. Park Sango, the fallen genius, a former apostle candidate expelled for his uncontrollable, bloodthirsty nature. The director tries to stay calm, trusting their training, but the professor knows the truth of Sango's cruelty. Guang Yu trembles as memories of the monster resurface. This isn't a test, it is an execution ground. He reveals the horrifying truth to the director, showing the physical scars left by that man's madness. In a dark warehouse, Peter and Yuna are bound. Sango smiles, realizing they were not truly unconscious. He is impressed. They knew it was chloroform, professionals who even control their breathing in sleep. The director's face turns pale. He sees the professor's mechanical leg, a grim souvenir of Sango's past violence. Sango isn't just a kidnapper. He's a sadist who enjoys breaking the legendary warriors of the next generation. There is no time for fear, only action. They must move before the warehouse becomes a graveyard. Sango looms over Yuna, his blade glinting. He warns that any resistance will result in lost limbs. As his hand reaches for her neck, a sudden ringtone shatters the tension. The predator is stunned. She checks her phone as Professor Guang Yu instantly recognizes Sango's chilling voice on the other end. Seizing the moment, Li vows to hunt Sango down if he dares harm even one of his students. Sango stays eerily calm, asking why the professor is so terrified. Is he reliving their past encounter? Guang Yu's rage boils over, but Sango playfully suggests a bet on the students' very lives. He gambles on how many limbs will remain intact before help arrives at their secret hideout. If Guang Yu guesses right, the boy lives. If wrong, the price will be paid in blood. The director is horrified to see the legendary Guang Yu trembling with pure, unadulterated fear. Desperation takes hold. Guang Yu screams for their location, praying Yuna and Peter are still alive. He orders an immediate search, knowing the students are targets, while Sango prepares his twisted game. Yuna wakes up and finds Peter seemingly fast asleep, fueling her frustration at his reckless composure. In this life-or-death crisis, she struggles to find an escape while kicking off one of her shoes. Peter suddenly speaks as her foot hits his face, revealing his sleep was just a clever ruse. She claims she was just trying to wake him, but Peter just smirks at her desperate attempts. Yuna tries using her training to break free, only for Peter to reveal he is already unbound. He had discreetly freed himself long ago, staying one step ahead of their captors the entire time. Yuna warns that the kidnapper is a glory veteran, but Peter already knows the killer's dark history. He asks if she likes gambling, leaving her baffled as the Dao brothers storm the battlefield. On a high-stakes mission, they demand the boy's location, though Sango just mocks their foul language. Thrilled by their arrogance, Sango offers the brothers a bet while Guang Yu rushes to the scene. Victory means saving the boy, but defeat means Sango will personally claim their legs as trophies. Guang Yu knows the truth. Against a monster like Sango, those boys have zero chance of survival. Unaware of Sango's true terror, the brothers rip their shirts, eager to crush the legendary killer. They swear to leave him wheelchair-bound, prompting Sango to toss them one of his own blades. He claims a fair bet is best. The brother catches the knife, convinced Sango has made a fatal error. The blade duel intensifies. Han believes he has the upper hand through relentless, cumulative pressure. But the tide turns when his own weapon nearly grazes his face, sparking a sudden, chilling doubt. He retreats, confused by the strange steel, while Sango mocks his sudden hesitation with a smirk. As he inspects the knife, the horrifying truth dawns on them, leaving Guang Yu in silent shock. The weapon was never sharpened. Sango watches them with the twisted smile of a true psychopath. Peter and Yuna rush in to help, but the brothers command them to stand down immediately. They claim this glory for themselves, fearing that if they fall, the students won't stand a chance. Steel resolve fills their eyes. Sango has no idea what kind of hell forged these warriors. Memories of the orphanage's Hell Month resurface, a trial designed to break the very soul. With zero food or water, they were given only a single pistol and one solitary bullet. Surrounded by beasts, that lone bullet was their only hope for hunting, or for a quick betrayal. For some, it was a way to end the nightmare. For others, it was a tool of murder. But these two refused to die. They clung to life and their precious bullets for a future destiny. They survived the month, keeping those two bullets as a testament to their ironclad will to live. Out of 181 children, they were the only survivors of that blood-soaked generation. Yet they heard whispers of a legend, Apostle Peter, a boy who set a godlike record. In 58 years, he was the only one to survive Hell Month without ever firing his bullet. 10 years of training to match Peter's ghost brings them here, facing Sango, a mere stepping stone. They launch a coordinated strike. One brother distracts Sango while the other prepares a lethal leap. They vow to make him regret the knife, but Sango's sadistic grin only widens in the darkness. Sango catches his wrist in a vice grip. "Forget the legs," he whispers. "Your arm is mine." Hound discards the blade, knowing a blunt edge won't pierce him. 𝒀𝒂𝒓𝒔 aims for the throat, exposing their true intent. Their lethal gambit was a direct strike to the neck. Sango merely scoffs at their childish dreams as they lunge. Jay watches in horror as Sango shatters their weapon with one strike. He mocks their delusion of reaching Peter's level. Sango unsheathes a massive kukri, a legendary curved blade. He explains this steel carries weight far beyond any ordinary axe. Faster than a dagger and heavier than an axe, it is the ultimate killing tool. He has spent a lifetime mastering it. They charge again, baffled by his effortless control over such a heavy blade. His speed defies the laws of physics. In a blur of steel, Sango proves he is no mere mortal. His strikes are surgical, targeting every vital limb. He dismantles them with zero effort. Slumped on the floor, they finally realize they are facing a true inhuman monster. Defeated, they scream for the others to flee. Sango smiles, sparing their lives only because they are mere children. However, mercy has a price. He prepares to collect his bloody toll by severing a leg from each fallen student. 𝒊𝒂𝒎𝒆 is consumed by terror, begging Sango to stop. He offers his remaining leg just to save his precious pupils. Yuna freezes in shock as the grim reality sets in. The monster is truly about to butcher her defenseless friends. Suddenly, a cold voice interrupts. Peter steps forward, betting his limbs and even his very life on the next move. The mention of his neck sparks Sango's bloodlust. He grins, accepting the gamble from a legendary member of Glory. Sango tosses a blade to Peter, demanding a fair duel. Yuna's heart sinks, terrified Peter might actually take the bait. Peter rejects the weapon. Instead, he raises a simple floral tray, claiming this household item is all he needs. Sango howls with laughter at the absurdity. As Yuna tends to the wounded, the monster lunges at Peter with fury. He promises no mercy. Sango unleashes a devastating first strike, but Peter evades it with a single, graceful step backward. A storm of slashes follows. Sango notes Peter's clever use of the tray as a makeshift shield against his kukri. But how long can thin metal hold against a legendary blade? 𝒊𝒂𝒎𝒆 watches, paralyzed by the fear of looming tragedy. He dreads the past repeating itself. The nightmare of losing his comrades to Sango's blade haunts 𝒊𝒂𝒎𝒆's broken spirit. He recalls Sango challenging fate years ago. The monster had asked a courier to bet on his survival against impossible odds. Surrounded by a small army, Sango told her to bet everything on him. He stood calmly amidst a sea of enemies. Assassins with chainsaws circled him in the wreckage. Their leader declared Sango a liability that the company had to erase. He was terminated with extreme prejudice. 𝒊𝒂𝒎𝒆 remembers the hit squad was composed of elite, veteran B-rank killers. No matter their skill, 5 top-tier assassins should have been enough. Yet Sango was something far beyond human comprehension. He moved like a god of death. His power defied logic as he faced the 5 elite killers alone. He severed their limbs like he was cutting paper. 𝒊𝒂𝒎𝒆 vividly remembers that day as his life was forever shattered. That was when 𝒊𝒂𝒎𝒆 lost his leg and his pride. He realized that the weapon doesn't matter when facing Sango. Sango's monstrosity is absolute. With a thunderous strike, he finally splits Peter's metal tray right down the middle. Sango mocks Peter's luck, gloating over the broken shield. Peter stares at the two halves with a chilling, calm focus. Yuna prepares to jump in, but Peter remains unfazed. He coolly remarks on Sango's choice of the brutal kukri blade. The kukri is a tool of pure aggression, and Peter is impressed. Suddenly, Peter grips the broken tray pieces tightly. Yuna gasps as she realizes the truth. The tray was not a shield. It was bait to create 2 smaller, sharper weapons. Dual-wielding the shards, Peter's aura shifts. Sango acts tough, but a cold sweat breaks as he senses a trap. This was not luck. It was calculated. Sango realizes Peter anticipated every move, including the destruction of his own shield. Peter had evaded a fatal headshot with millimeter precision. Sango questions if this boy is truly just a high schooler. Whatever his origin, Sango won't be fooled. He hurls his coat to blind Peter, launching a ruthless follow-up attack. With Peter's vision blocked, Sango unleashes a flurry of lethal slashes. He aims to end this duel right here, right now. Believing he's landed a killing blow, Sango sneers at the ordinary boy. But Peter suddenly vanishes like a ghost. Peter reappears behind him, striking with a metal shard. Sango realizes his blade only sliced through a decoy pillow. Narrowly avoiding the counter, Sango leaps back in alarm. He finally grasps the terrifying depth of Peter's combat genius. Peter was aiming for the carotid artery, a kill shot. Sango barely saved his throat by sacrificing his own hand. Bleeding, Sango drops into a serious stance. He knows now that no student possesses such cold, murderous intent. The tray was never meant for defense. Peter's sole objective was the neck. Sango roars and charges for the finale. Peter unleashes a relentless barrage of strikes. Sango falters, wondering if this student is even human. He realizes the cry's heavy swings destroy everything, and a single hit means instant death. But Yuna notices Sango is far slower than Peter. That massive blade is a double-edged sword. If this duel drags on, Peter wins, but a shallow cut on his cheek sends Yuna into a panic. Sango sneers that cattle require the right tools, drawing hidden daggers from within his heavy blade. Without that extra weight, Sango's speed triples. Peter's tactical advantage vanishes in a heartbeat. The killer's movements are no longer hindered. Now, Peter is the one struggling against the onslaught. Steel rains down. Peter is forced into a desperate defense using nothing but a silver tray. Yuna senses the shift, but wonders why he's swinging daggers meant specifically for lethal thrusting. Sango lunges for the kill, aiming a final, direct strike to end the protagonist's life forever. Inches from Peter's throat, Sango's hand suddenly locks. The knife clatters to the floor in shock. "Lost your strength?" Peter asks coldly. Sango watches his weapon fall, paralyzed by a terrifying realization. The neck was never the target. Peter's objective was always the nerves in Sango's murderous hands. Sango's palms are shredded, gushing blood. Peter calmly explains the intricate anatomy of the human hand. "You need nerves to hold a weapon." Peter had systematically severed every single one. He never intended to kill Sango. He intended to dismantle him. The killer begins to tremble in disbelief. This is no ordinary student. Sango wonders just how many men this boy has reaped before. Peter warned him. An iron knife cannot defeat a tray held by a true legend of war. He wraps the tray around his fist like armor. "I'll show you how an egg shatters a rock." Sango's mind fractures, flashing back to a past where thugs hung him like a carcass from trees. He dreamed of revenge but lacked the strength, until they threw starving dogs at his feet. "Beat the dogs and the bullying stops." Sango cowered, wishing for death until a bet was made. That single phrase changed everything. Sango's legs moved on their own, fueled by a mad, sudden instinct. He doesn't remember the punch, only that betting his life granted him the power of a god. He slaughtered the bully that day. From then on, every fight was a gamble with his soul. Violence became his addiction because he never lost. He was the king of his own bloody bets. But today, the bet ends. Peter's tray-wrapped fist connects with the force of a falling meteor. Sango is sent hurtling into the dirt, as Peter discards his metal glove with total indifference. Yuna watches in awe, but the battle isn't over. Peter charges, and Sango descends into pure panic. Desperate to survive, Sango pulls a grenade. "Kneel, or I'll turn this entire building into a tomb." He points the explosive at the suitcases. The kidnapped children, including the president's son, are inside. Yuna freezes in horror. If that grenade detonates, not a single soul in this room survives. Sango screams about a gas pipe in the ceiling. One spark will trigger a massive, lethal explosion. "Kneel," he shrieks, but Peter simply stares him down, daring the coward to actually pull the pin. Before Sango can blink, Peter shoves the live grenade directly into the kidnapper's screaming mouth. "Don't open your mouth or you're dead." Peter pulls the pin, his eyes cold and devoid of mercy. He clenches his fist, showing Sango what a real threat looks like. The predator has become the prey. Peter pummels the man while he chokes on death. Finally, he replaces the pin with effortless grace. "Stop crying and get up. We aren't finished yet." Peter holds the grenade like a toy. Sango tries to stand, but Yuna worries about his next move. The monster is completely cornered. To her surprise, Sango falls to his knees, weeping and begging for a draw like a child. He promises to release the kids and disappear forever. Anything to end this one-sided nightmare. The teacher arrives at the hideout, expecting a demon. Instead, he finds a broken, sobbing shell. Peter stands tall, supporting his colleagues. The legendary soldier has successfully completed the mission. Yuna smiles as the incident ends, and the stolen children are safely rescued. Sango is stuffed into a black bag like trash, pathetically begging them to call their one-sided beatdown a draw. At Glory headquarters, Guang Yu's nightmare finally ends, while the Duo brothers shamelessly brag about their supposed teamwork. As they flex, Peter silently warns Yua to bundle up before she catches a cold in the biting chill. Soon, they're promoted to D-rank assassins, leaving the ego-bruised Duo brothers fuming over their mediocre standing. Yua grows irritated by their whining as the elevator plunges deep, descending into the facility's dark, hidden heart. Tension rises with every floor dropped. When the doors hiss open, two Titan-sized women block their path. The brothers freeze in terror, certain they're about to die, and frantically try to slam the elevator doors shut. Suddenly, a stunning beauty emerges from between the Titans, and the brothers' fear instantly vanishes into pure infatuation. "We're the honored guests," they claim, shamelessly changing their tune as she leads them into the secret complex. She reveals the president's personal interest in them for saving his son, the sole heir to the powerful Dana Group. She ushers them into a grand hall, explaining the president's orders to treat these warriors like absolute royalty. After changing into sharp suits, the brothers begin to strut, loudly faking conversations to look like the president's elite. Their egos swell as the guide approaches the final door, announcing that the true main event lies just ahead. The doors open to an armory overflowing with lethal steel. This was the legendary Dana Group's private collection. As the primary weapons supplier for Glory, the president is offering them any armament they desire as a reward. The brothers hesitate, wondering if they need more guns, but their greed quickly overrides any lingering doubt. Since it's all free, they start grabbing everything. Meanwhile, Yua's eyes sparkle at the masterpiece-grade knives on display. She reaches for the blades, her heart racing at the craftsmanship, but her hand suddenly stops midair. Guilt stings her. Believing she contributed nothing to the mission, she feels she has no right to these rewards. The guide watches Peter, curious about his choice. He ignores the high-tech guns and picks up a simple pen. "This is all I need," he says coldly. Having mastered every weapon in this room before, they mean nothing. A message arrives. The president wants them in his office. The brothers groan, complaining about the long, tedious wait. They continue to whine until she clarifies the summons. The president didn't ask for the entire team at all. He only wants Peter. The brothers are livid, but Peter silently enters the elevator, leaving their jealousy behind. Alone in the lift, the girl asks about the pen. Peter claims he just likes using this specific model. She counters that the model was discontinued 40 years ago. Peter's facade flickers, forcing him to improvise a lie. "It was my grandfather's gift," he claims. She suspects he's an orphan, but Peter sharply cuts the conversation short. He demands to know why he was singled out. Finally, the doors slide open to the president's inner sanctum. "I've brought the boy," she announces. Peter finally stands face to face with the man holding all the power. President Choi Unchain asks if the rewards sufficed. Peter remains stoic, offering only a brief, sharp word of thanks. Peter asks for the real reason he's here. Choi claims curiosity, but then he steps closer with predatory intent. The atmosphere turns heavy. Choi whispers that he knows exactly who Peter really is, sending a chill through the air. Approaching the boy, Choi examines him like a ghost hunter, searching for a face from a blood-soaked past. "You look just like him," Choi mutters. His mind drifts back to the freezing Christmas Eve of 1978. In the shadows of 1978, electricity surged through a man's skull as captors demanded the ultimate secret. They wanted Choi Unchain's location, but the man in the chair was a fortress, refusing to break under torture. He smiled through the agony. "I already told you how to save the boy," he mocked his captors. To save the heir, Korea had to surrender their missiles to the Soviet Union. It was a devil's bargain. Refusal meant the boy's certain death. The president of the company felt his world crumbling under the pressure. Despair was absolute until news broke. America was sending its deadliest Delta team to Moscow for a rescue. On a frantic call, a boy screams. While outside a moving train, a lone gunman aims at the sky. The helicopter erupts into a fireball, lighting up the night. In seconds, the elite Delta team was completely annihilated. With all hope lost, the president fled to the Church of Honor, seeking a miracle from the heavens. "Father, open the gates." 𝒀𝒐𝒂𝒓𝒔 pounded on the doors, his voice desperate and laced with pure urgency. The priest questioned the late hour. Choi's response was a nightmare. "The Russians have taken my son." The Duel group promised century-long support for just one favor: send the ultimate disciple among the 12. But the priest played dumb, feigning ignorance about the legend standing right before him. His son was taken. The priest preached about God's will while the man's world burned. Prayers won't save him. He needed blood. Meanwhile, a divine catastrophe was unfolding in Moscow. 3 elite teams were erased. Everyone thought sending one man was a suicide mission. They didn't realize who he was. A single monster worth an entire army, the strongest of them all. Deep inside a Russian train, the enemies were baffled. How did this lone boy get here? "I'm alone," he stated coldly. Without a second's hesitation, the symphony of gunfire erupted. He moved like a ghost through the carriage, lead flying, but his blades were faster. Not a scratch on him. His remaining bullets matched their head count perfectly. Absolute mathematical death. A door kicked open. An enemy screamed, threatening to paint the walls with the boy's brains. Drop the gun, or the kid dies. He'd heard of this legendary reaper who leaves only corpses. He never expected the survivor of death to look like a mere teenager. This was Peter. Switching to Korean, he whispered to the terrified boy, "On the count of 3, drop." The countdown began. The Russian captor felt a chill, unable to understand their secret exchange. He ordered the intruder to kneel. The countdown hit 0. Death was in the air. A coin whistled through the air with lethal force. The boy ducked as a cap went flying. "Farewell, KGB." Peter bid him goodbye in Russian. The rescued boy stood there, shaking with awe. The boy swore to repay this debt forever, but Peter just placed a hat on his head. "I didn't save you out of kindness. You are the future of Daha Group. Now stand up." 40 years passed. That cool, indifferent face remained burned into the old man's memory. He survived because of that legend. Now, looking at a young face, he saw a ghost. "You look exactly like him," he called the youth Peter, a resemblance too strong to be a coincidence. For the first time in decades, a primal fear gripped the old chairman's heart. The fragile boy he once protected was now a titan, but the youth chose only a pen. This is enough. However, the chairman couldn't let his savior's bloodline leave empty-handed. He offered a modest gift, a machine reminiscent of what saved his life long ago. The 𝒀𝒊𝒕𝒂𝒓𝒔 V4, a masterpiece of engineering that hits 500 kilometers per hour. Equipped with ghost stealth tech, no GPS or radar on Earth can track this mechanical beast. "I sold the bike," he joked. His teammates were already bickering like old married couples. They tried to trade their scavenged gear for cash, but the woman wasn't having it. A helmet was tossed his way. "Move it, rookie." The others were eager to see him drive. Professor Gu called, "Had your fun yet?" The hounds of the Glory organization were sniffing around. A gathering of elite killers wanted to vet the newcomers. The air was thick with suspicion. They hated the term newbies. They were professional monsters, and they were coming for the crown. Their electric scooters couldn't keep up with the roar of the V4's engine. The professor's orders were clear. Go and prove that this rookie is a god-tier monster. Fame is a burden. All eyes were on them, wondering if they truly held S-rank power. Yuna felt the pressure. The heavy iron doors ahead were the gateway to their destiny. She gasped as the grand hall opened up. This was the sanctuary of the revelations. This is where the world's most dangerous assassins receive their divine orders. It's a holy ritual for killers. Your rank determines the weight of the blood you spill. The faithful lined up for communion, but the bread held a secret darker than any sin. Hidden inside the host was a mission note. Low-tier dogs got their orders this way. The group checked their first message. It was simple, brutal, and perfect. Fight. These arrogant veterans ignore the rookies entirely, treating them like invisible ghosts without a single name or purpose. If they were respected, they'd have real work instead of this mocking, new blood, ritual they offer beginners. The chalice smells sweet but sinister before the priest douses him in a humiliating, filthy baptism of mockery. Does it taste good? The priest sneers, mocking these two pretentious fools who act like legendary high-class warriors. These idiots can't distinguish gold from garbage. Enraged, he demands to know if the priest is one of them. Assassins swarm the church hall, cracking their knuckles for a lesson written in brutal bruises and broken bones. Mercy is a dead concept here. Age is irrelevant when you hide behind a ranking system like a coward. You pests have no clue what rank D means, they growl, though they actually have no idea themselves. A brutal kick lands. We weren't born for the bottom tier. Remember the Du brothers climbed to legendary status. We'll be disciples soon. Enough wasting time. The priest better pray he can block this incoming storm of violence. The seniors are stunned by their defiance as the girl watches the brothers. Sudden, massive surge of combat confidence. They fight like hungry wolves now. But as an assassin prepares to strike back, the smaller brother vanishes instantly. Suddenly, a hand clamps onto his leg. One brother has him immobilized in a desperate, powerful death grip. Now, brother, strike quickly, he roars, creating the perfect opening to unleash their raw, unbridled physical prowess. Blood splatters everywhere. Did you dream of being a legend like Peter? They mock while crushing his foolish hopes. Peter was a legend, but reality is a cruel master. Stop dreaming and face the cold, hard world now. Agonized screams echo through the air. He searches for Jay, but a devastating punch shatters his focus completely. A blindside hit reels him. Yuna's screams for mercy as a lethal assassin's shadow looms ominously behind them. Welcome to reality, sneers Director Jang, a rank B monster who spent decades honing his lethal, killing aura. Rank B is another realm entirely. Rank D is just fodder, numbering over 336 weaklings. Rank C deals with the mafia, but Rank B, they are predators who specialize in hunting other skilled assassins. Rank A strikes change nations. Only 36 monsters in the entire world hold that prestigious and terrifying title. To be a killer is to hold your blade until the grave, bleeding for every single inch of progress. You'll vomit blood to reach the top, yet even a lifetime of effort can't bridge the gap to genius. Above all stand the 12 disciples, gods among men. The battered old man's spirit is now nearly crushed. Want to know their secret? The old man wheezes. The boy just stares, confused by the cryptic, bloody words. You must be reborn in blood. A brutal slam sends the boy's face deep into the cold stone floor. Arrogant orphan, they sneer. Go back to your mother's lab if you can't handle this world of pain. Yuna trembles in terror. The director scoffs at her pathetic rank D status and total lack of killer talent. You're just a shadow of your boss. Go buy some medicine and stop playing at being a real assassin. Suddenly, a hand catches the director's wrist. Don't cross the line, the main character says with a chilling gaze. Irritated, the director glares at this nobody. You want to fight me? The boy remains chillingly silent and unmoving. He recalls crushing Park Sango with ease. His monstrous talent is a beacon that could ruin his secret cover. If Glory suspects his true power, everyone dies. He must maintain this weakling mask to survive the coming storm. A sharp slap rings out. Know your place when adults are talking, the director barks, fueling his own ego. He keeps swinging, mocking the boy for trying to look tough in front of the girl. Truly pathetic behavior. Hit me all you want, the boy whispers. The director pauses, sensing a strange, heavy pressure in the air. Revenge isn't the priority, survival is. His friends are bleeding out, clinging to life by a thin, fraying thread. He swallows his pride, begging for their lives. Mentioning the disciples is forbidden. He must play his part well. Bored by the submission, the director stops. But then he demands a final, cruel price for his hollow mercy. "Give up your license," he demands. The boy looks at the director with eyes as cold as a grave. "Come back when you've actually grown some teeth." The beaten group limps out into the dark, cold night. "What was that about?" they groan. How can they face their teacher after losing everything they worked for? He apologizes for his failure to protect them. It's a miracle they weren't dragged into that horrific bloodbath. Things would have turned deadly fast. As their leader, he failed to show them anything but the cruel darkness. Helmet secured, the leader is summoned. A meal might calm them. Roaring down the highway, Yuna clings to him with unspoken questions. She yearns for strength. She asks what it takes to be powerful. He scoffs. Why does a girl like her crave such violence? "Just asking," she mumbles. She wonders if he is truly okay. The church stripped their pride. To Kim, the weak lose everything. Yuna grips him tighter. The events at the church still haunt. Desolation fills her. She clutches his jacket as he stares ahead. The night air is cool. Dealing with insects is becoming tedious. Fighting weaklings is boring. Maybe it is time for new work. The director senses it. That man's gaze was pure, lethal violence. A man sneers. He claims the boy will never reach manhood. Back for more. They mock him as he stands in silence. Why persist? The director thinks the boy needs more pain. Kim interrupts. He is about to show them legendary, hidden skills. Techniques of a rank S disciple, something they cannot yet fathom. He laughs. Did the boy mention the strength of a disciple? 14 years in this world, yet he hears such fairy tales. The world is harsh. They prepare to crush the arrogant student. Jang freezes. The boy stands perfectly still, an empty, cold vessel. A mere rank D student, unarmed and defenseless before their eyes. Just a rosary. His stance is riddled with fatal, tempting openings. Fear creeps in. Those eyes belong to a predator, not a child. Are you scared? His partner mocks his sudden, strange hesitation. It makes no sense, yet he cannot look away from him. Hierarchy is absolute. Rebellion justifies a brutal, swift execution. He strikes first. He expects a block to set his trap. Expose the ribs, then finish him. A perfect, lethal plan. The eyes are the target. This should be the final blow. Suddenly, rosary beads erupt. They dance through the air. His hands are empty. That rosary was a hidden, deadly weapon. A razor-thin thread coils. It wraps tightly around his trembling neck. The church groans. Objects begin to shatter under invisible pressure. Pews explode into splinters. Everything happens at godlike speed. He cannot comprehend. His head feels severed from his very soul. A terrifying hallucination. He gasps, checking if his head remains. His partner scolds him. Jang is paralyzed by pure, visceral terror. It isn't distraction. It is the absolute, crushing weight of death. He has already died. In his mind, he is a corpse. A tense silence. 3 men trapped in a divine cage. Years of experience scream. He knows he has already lost. The boy is a monster. His power defies every known logic. A murderous aura so thick it suffocates the entire room. He remembers those slaps. He would rather die than face retribution. Kim watches calmly. He begins his slow, steady approach toward them. He grovels in the dirt, desperately begging for a mercy that Kim likely won't grant. With a mocking pat, Kim whispers that sensing death is the first lesson for any assassin. Leaving the terrified man behind, Kim knows a permanent scar has been left on his soul. Inside the church, friends watch in horror, convinced Kim has completely lost his mind. A woman warns him of the risk, fearing his true power might finally be exposed. But Kim is unfazed. A rank B expert just lost to a rank D rookie. In this world, losing to a mere kid means his career is effectively over. Yuna watches him leave, her heart heavy with a worry she can't quite explain. She begs him to stay quiet, but Kim just guns his engine and vanishes. Elsewhere, the brothers spiral into a panic after realizing their vital ID cards are gone. Those licenses are their only lifelines, and without them, they are as good as dead. Fear consumes them. as they realize there is no way to explain this total humiliation. Suddenly, a voice calls out from the shadows. The legendary monster has returned once more. They tremble as if seeing a ghost, certain he's come to finish them off. "Stop the formalities," Kim says coldly, tossing their stolen identities back at their feet. Relief washes over them, but Kim's eyes are already tracking a much more dangerous target. That peculiar boy in the distance. He possesses a hidden darkness that Kim instantly recognizes. Clutched in his hand is Yuna's license. He needs to return it before things get worse. While the brothers brag about surviving, Yuna is pushing her body to the breaking point. Every strike against the training dummy is fueled by a crushing sense of her own weakness. Memories of her failure haunt her. The gap in power was simply too vast to bridge. She was a helpless spectator in the church, a burden while the real battle unfolded. Consumed by rage, she buries her blade into the dummy's neck, refusing to be useless. If she doesn't get stronger now, her younger brother Yujin will pay the ultimate price. Kim enters silently, his voice cutting through her self-loathing as he offers her the license. She refuses it, claiming a failure like her has no right to hold such a rank. "Is this pity party because of your brother?" Kim asks, piercing through her emotional armor. Yuna explodes, screaming at him to stop acting like he understands her painful reality. Kim offers a rare apology, but he knows a secret that will change everything. He reveals the truth. He knows they aren't biological siblings, leaving her frozen in shock. As she stares at him, the traumatic memories of her past begin to resurface. She remembers a young Yujin begging for a family bond she was too afraid to accept. She had pushed him away, calling him a stranger abandoned by a heartless world. Left at a subway station with nothing, he was just another soul lost in the system. They grew up in shadows, but she lacked the courage to truly call him family. To her, isolation was a shield against the agony of being abandoned once again. She once prayed for death's sweet release, a wish that nearly came true on a mission. Bleeding out in the dirt, she watched her allies prepare to leave her for dead. To them, her dying body was just a waste of valuable resources and time. She welcomed the end, believing her entire existence had been one long, cruel mistake. In those final moments, she carried no regrets, only a desire for the void. But a miracle occurred. She woke up to find Yujin had risked everything for her. That stubborn boy had defied his superiors, willing to trade his life for her safety. "If my sister lives, I don't care if I die," he told the doctors. She claimed to have no family, yet he was the one who never left her side. Yuna pleaded desperately, refusing to let Lee Yujin gamble his life for hers. Suddenly, a cold voice reminded them that blood was expensive. Every drop cost a fortune, and Yujin was draining their resources dry. The hospital heartlessly planned to discard him and cease all treatment. Cornering the doctors, Yuna begged them to show mercy. Despite her own injuries, she vowed not to let them abandon the boy. She promised to slave away to cover every cent of the mounting medical debt. To her, he wasn't just a patient, he was family. Protecting him gave her a true purpose for the first time. Recalling that vow, she stood firm, fueled by an unbreakable sisterly bond. Blood relation didn't matter. Their shared struggle was thicker than water. Yuna would descend into hell itself if it meant saving him. Sensing the weight of her past, Kim prepared to depart, thinking he'd overstepped. He intended to let her complete her training in peace. But Yuna couldn't let him go. To her, Kim was an absolute monster, the most powerful warrior she had ever witnessed in her life. Reaching out, she desperately grabbed his sleeve, stopping the legendary soldier in his tracks. His departure would mean the end of her hope. With trembling eyes, she begged for the secret to true strength. This wasn't a mere favor. She was surrendering her pride for power. Strength was her only path to survival. She held her breath, awaiting the judgment of the man who held her destiny in his hands. Seconds felt like hours as shame washed over her. Fearing his rejection, she stuttered, nearly pulling back her desperate plea for mentorship. Summoning her courage, she pointed at him and declared him her teacher. Yet, Kim's expression remained as cold and unreadable as a stone. His silence was deafening. Panicking, Yuna wondered if her resolve was too weak or if her approach lacked the necessary sincerity. To save face, she quickly blurted out that she could survive alone. It was a bluff, a fragile shield for her wounded pride. Suddenly, Kim broke his silence, admitting he was actually weighing her potential. Yuna's heart leaped as she lunged toward her new mentor. She eagerly asked for confirmation, but Kim scoffed, calling the idea of her as his disciple a total nightmare. He listed her flaws: a frail constitution, a cowardly heart, and an explosive temper, all the marks of a failed assassin. However, buried beneath the weakness was a diamond in the rough. Yuna possessed the god-tier eyes that every legendary killer envied. Ever since the restaurant bloodbath, she had displayed an uncanny perception. Even in the height of chaos, her vision never faltered. From the brutal clash with the brothers to the shadows of the assassin's church, Yuna had been an unblinking witness to death. While others cowered, her gaze remained locked on the carnage. She was a natural observer, dissecting every movement in the heat of battle. It was as if she were mentally downloading every lethal technique. Her visual acuity surpassed the limits of any ordinary human. Yuna flushed at the unexpected praise, but to Kim, this wasn't a compliment. It was a cold, objective assessment of the truth. To bridge the gap, she needed a specialized tool. Kim revealed a weapon designed to transform her physical weaknesses into lethal assets. He tossed her an object that could slay even the strongest foes. Mastering this would turn her into a true predator of the night. With this weapon, her need for a teacher would vanish. It was the ultimate shortcut to becoming a legendary shadow operative. Yuna gripped the item, sensing its hidden lethality. Nearby, the greedy brothers were busy counting their latest haul of dirty cash. They relished their weekly payout, wondering if being Kim's student paid better. Meanwhile, Kim knew that true power transcends mere wealth. A master assassin takes what they want. Gold is irrelevant. Oblivious, the brothers bickered over how to spend their newfound riches. Kim looked around for his new pupil, only to discover she had vanished. She had hurried off to her mysterious part-time job. For weeks, she had been working the night shift as a cleaner. She literally erased the bloody evidence left by other killers. It was a gruesome task that would make anyone vomit. Yet, Yuna endured the filth, scrubbing away the remnants of violent deaths. Despite her official salary, she refused to quit this hellish work. Nobody understood her obsession as she gazed at a cherished photo. The brothers joked she was just working for snacks, given her massive appetite. They assumed she was just a bottomless pit for food. But she only binged at the free cafeteria to save every single coin. One of the fools claimed that success required spending big. Kim ignored the moron's advice, suspecting Yuna's frugality had a deeper purpose. She was hiding a burden from everyone, even her brother. A notification suddenly pinged, a message from Yuna. She was requesting a scarf, a strange demand considering the sweltering heat of the day. Why a scarf in this weather? However, inside the depths of the training warehouse, the laws of nature didn't seem to apply. As the brothers entered, a bone-chilling frost gripped them. The temperature inside was a frozen hell, far from the summer sun. Yuna had summoned them as mere delivery boys for her winter gear. She ignored their whining, focused only on her brutal training. Shivering, they asked if this cleaning gig paid well. But Yuna corrected them. This wasn't a job, it was her path to power. They watched in awe as she shattered massive ice blocks. She wasn't using her fists, though. She was using Kim's gift. The weapon was a rope dart, a rare and lethal relic from Kim. It was an exotic tool that required absolute mastery. This traditional wushu weapon seemed like a toy at first, but with the rope coiled, Yuna prepared to unleash its deadly potential. Her body coils as the dart flies, a lethal and chaotic dance of steel. The brothers sneer, claiming only an idiot would prefer a toy over a gun. To them, it is a plaything compared to the absolute finality of a bullet. Yuna ignores them, while Kim notes that 5 targets require 5 separate rounds. Then, Yuna unleashes the dart's terror, leaving her brothers paralyzed in utter shock. The weapon becomes a harbinger of doom, pulverizing massive ice blocks with ease. They dismiss it as luck, while secretly scouring the web for this weapon. The owner, veteran assassin Park Bingu, watches closely as the day fades away. He asks if she succeeded. Yuna nods, promising to clean up before leaving. Bingu stops her, his eyes narrowed as he questions her true hidden strength. He has seen masters, yet her destructive power is a first in his life. She offers payment, but the old man simply waves her concerns aside. It turns out Kim already paid a staggering 1 million won in advance. That sum equals their weekly pay, but there was one more gift left. Specialized ointment for her hands, showing his silent concern for her well-being. With the training over, Yuna finally steps out into the cold night air. She stares at her phone, struggling to find words for her deep gratitude. She eventually calls, but her voice fails her when he finally picks up. She awkwardly asks about lunch. He sighs, yet mentions preparing her favorite meal. After they hang up, Kim smiles, acknowledging her progress with a real weapon. As they plan to meet, the brothers fail miserably to mimic her technique. Kim knew her gymnastic past was the secret key to mastering the dart. Elsewhere, the atmosphere turns dark as the monstrous Park Sango brutalizes his victims. He mocks his enemies, claiming a truckload of B-rankers are merely pathetic fodder. Boredom seeps into his eyes as he waits for a worthy A-rank challenge. To stop this beast, a true disciple must emerge and silence the chaos. As the legendary warrior enters, the surviving assassins fall to their knees. Park drops his blade in challenge, which the young disciple calmly retrieves. He offers a deadly wager, returning the weapon like a mere child's toy. The air grows heavy as Park realizes he is facing a true monster. That terrifying presence belongs to Nathaniel, the formidable assassin hidden in youth. At the clinic, a child wails while the brothers act pathetic about needles. These hardened killers are secretly petrified by the clinical scent of the hospital. They whine during the blood draw, a mandatory test for all organization members. This facility, run by Glory, serves as the ultimate database for legendary killers. Kim nearly exposes his identity, almost listing his age from 40 years ago. The tension peaks as his turn arrives for the mandatory blood collection trap. They brand their hounds through DNA and fingerprints that never truly change. If his blood is logged, the system will link Kim to the ghost, Peter. His mask is about to shatter, exposing the legendary killer's true hidden face. Later, Kim confesses everything to Jan, whose face pales with every word. Jan explodes in fury, hitting him for being so reckless with their lives. Facing B-rankers was bad, but being hunted as Peter is a death sentence. Kim remains calm, revealing a chaotic plan to vanish in the coming storm. His solution is to blow up the hospital, earning him more of Jan's wrath. She called him a madman for his reckless plan, but he knew the risks lurking within that massive hospital. This wasn't just a clinic, it was the secret treasury of Glory. Divine Honor Hospital was a den of shadows. From the street, it looked perfectly normal, but inside, it was South Korea's most efficient murder factory. They disguised assassinations as accidents and erased evidence. It was a sanctuary built by killers for killers. With his DNA locked in their database, he had one option: erase the entire facility from the map. His informant trembled, asking if he knew the guard. The one ruling this hell was the disciple, Nathaniel. Nathaniel was barely human. Inside those sterile walls, the monster codenamed, the surgeon was conducting his grim research. Masquerading as a genius doctor, he had vanished 4 years ago after leaving a trail of blood in Brazil. In Rio de Janeiro, a lone patrolman stumbled upon a nightmare that defied every law of nature. He saw laundry hanging outside a precinct, but as he drew closer, the horrifying truth paralyzed his soul. The officer crashed in terror. Those weren't clothes, they were the mutilated corpses of Rio's most powerful gang lords. A total war erupted to purge the survivors, But the cleanup crew found something far worse than a battlefield. The air reeked of cordite and death. Before they even entered, the stench of a fresh massacre choked them. The lead officer signaled a halt. Inside, they found only rivers of blood and steel weapons twisted like toys. Not a single body remained. It looked like the work of a demon, something far beyond human capability. As they scrambled to report the horror, a figure emerged from the darkness. The surgeon had arrived. The officer was already in his cold grip. Panic flared as they realized they had walked into a slaughterhouse. They screamed for backup, but the only response was the agonizing wails of their dying comrades. Within seconds, the floor was a lake of crimson. The terrified survivor begged for his friend's life. He had no idea what kind of devil he was facing. From the dark, a chilling voice demanded more prey. Something heavy thudded at his feet. It was the severed boot of the partner who had just been beside him. His mind shattered from the sheer terror. There, standing amidst the carnage, was the legendary assassin himself. Victims hung from the ceiling by their skulls. Nathaniel didn't want easy kills. He craved resilient toys to break. The officer lost his mind, screaming as he unloaded his entire rifle into the grotesque, smiling shadow. In one single night, Nathaniel had annihilated both the underworld kings and Rio's elite special forces. The informant knocked cautiously, fearing the news she brought. Kim sat there, pondering the monster's sheer physical power. Could a man really bend cold steel with his bare hands? She confirmed the terrifying truth with a heavy heart. Since this beast was guarding the hospital, a frontal assault was suicide. They needed a perfect opening to strike. Kim's mind raced, formulating a daring infiltration plan. His eyes sharpened with the focus of a legendary predator. She hoped he wouldn't die, but Kim smiled. He needed her help to execute his most dangerous gamble yet. In the bustling city, the public remained oblivious. A small child pointed at the sky, mesmerized by something above. People looked up, whispering the name Peter. Kim watched from the shadows, knowing the true storm was coming. He held a simple charity flyer for the elderly, a subtle, mocking greeting for the hospital's 30th anniversary celebration. Peter was coming for Nathaniel. He had already breached Glory's secure servers to plant his dramatic entrance. If the organization discovered this joke by a 19-year-old boy, their lives would be forfeit instantly. It was a reckless move, yet the legendary killer hadn't failed a single mission in 50 long years. Chaos erupted inside the hospital walls. The staff couldn't believe the ghost of Peter was actually returning to haunt them. Lower-ranked assassins trembled. They knew they were no match for the man, even if he was an old legend. But the real danger lay deeper within. Nathaniel's elite Brazilian killers were waiting, thirsty for a legendary kill. These A-rank monsters were rarely seen. Facing them was a death sentence, let alone facing the disciple Nathaniel himself. To witness a clash between these two disciples was a rare, blood-soaked privilege. Who would emerge as the victor? Many bet on the 70-year-old legend, despite his failing health. Suddenly, Peter's name echoed through the crowded halls. Their leaders demanded to know why they were rooting for the enemy they were supposed to execute on sight. Most prayed the old monster wouldn't show up. Little did they know, Kim was already standing right among them. The lead Brazilian killer issued a final, chilling command. Do not engage Peter alone. Use everything we have. Ready the tranquilizers. If he appears, hit the alarm. We need A-rank elites now. The assassins are inbound for backup. Do you understand? The squad roars back in obedience. Kim watches, silently amused. The legendary prey they're hunting is actually standing right among them. The hunt for Peter begins. As the soldiers deploy, Kim prepares his own secret move. The legendary old man's declaration of war was unexpected. Panic spreads through the ranks. Is the new boss of Glory truly capable? The crowd whispers, doubting his hidden strength. Peter has vanished after the last clash. If he causes a scene now, it's over. The legend's power is terrifying. It is time for this young monster to finally act. The tattooed chief apologizes. He underestimated the old man, but he won't fail again. I must remember my place. My respect for the elderly almost made me look weak. A chief of staff who fails to read the room deserves to be fired immediately. He stares at the old man. Does he really think I'm that much of an idiot? Can his father's greatest masterpiece truly defeat his own ultimate human creation? A silent shadow works in the dark, unaware that death is already standing behind him. Snap, a perfect kill disguised as simple chiropractic. This young doctor is a hidden monster. Knowing vital points is child's play for him. He asks about a doctor named Nathaniel. No one has heard of him. Disguised, Kim prowls the hospital, hunting for his target. Nathaniel is a ghost with no identity. He must have erased his past completely. But the disciple is here. Somewhere in this hospital, the predator and prey will meet. It is a race against time. The brothers ask what the hell he is doing. Sit down, your leg is injured. They dismiss Yuna, claiming she's not on their level. She's higher ranked, but they promise to protect her anyway. Kim just smiles. There, they spot an old man in the same shirt. Is that the legendary Peter? Kim tries to warn them they have the wrong guy, but they've already pounced. They whisper about helping him escape, but the confused old man hasn't a clue. A nurse asks if he needs a siren. Kim is baffled by the strange misunderstanding. They think the old man is being restrained, but Kim claims he's just taking blood. The hunt is a mess. They are taking blood samples from every patient in sight. The old man struggles to flee from the idiots who swear he is the legend. Someone bumps into them. Are you blind? But it is Yuna standing right there. She stammers out an excuse. My younger brother is a patient here. She lies poorly. They've never heard of a brother. She flees, leaving a trail of suspicious curiosity behind. Why is Yuna here? Jan's voice crackles in his ear. Focus on the mission, Kim. She knows him too well. Do you have a lead on Nathaniel yet or not? They are both hunting each other now. It is a deadly game of hide and seek. He needs Nathaniel to show his face, without Kim, revealing his own godlike identity. Suddenly, an assassin appears. It is Rodrigo, threatening him to work or die. Kim approaches calmly. I found you. Now let's set the ultimate trap for them. Jan screams. It's absolute madness, but Kim's eyes signal that the hunt is on. His men are ready to get violent. Elsewhere, a doctor prepares for a bloody surgery. He performs his ritual with chilling calm, opening the door with a kick. Rodrigo is confused. Who the hell are you to be preparing for surgery right now? Meet the surgeon assassin, Kim Sunu. The enemy snarls, but a true predator has arrived. Get out and find Peter, but Kim just stares. You aren't the one I'm hunting. Where is Nathaniel? Rodrigo sneers at the trash, unaware he's facing a living legend. When a cold-blooded killer asks for your name, your fate is sealed. Rodrigo grinned, savoring the hunt. Craving blood, he prowled the halls. Suddenly, an underling rushed in with a message for the professor. The professor demanded answers. The man trembling before him presented top-secret files from the surgical bay. He analyzed the surveillance footage with predatory intensity. As the recording played, a twisted smirk formed. Even a veteran like Rodrigo was struggling against that mysterious doctor. The speed was beyond human comprehension. Kim had seized control instantly. What was meant to be a duel became a brutal, one-sided massacre. Rodrigo was helpless, caught in a whirlwind of strikes. The seasoned killer was neutralized before he could react. The entire execution lasted a mere 10 seconds. Rodrigo now lay broken and lifeless on the floor. A rank B assassin was erased in the blink of an eye. Then, the main character turned to the camera. Nathaniel gasped. Peter was truly lurking within his own hospital. The game of shadows had finally ended. He demanded the target's location, but the security team was silent. Chaos was unfolding in the server room. The hospital's data was vanishing in real time. Someone was systematically wiping their digital tracks during the raid. Despite the setback, the professor felt a surge of dark euphoria. His ultimate prize was finally within reach. Names like Grayson and Sawyer filled the stasis tubes. They were mere appetizers for Peter's legendary vessel. The VIP chamber was ready for its guest. Nathaniel envisioned Peter's body, preserved in one of those jars. The trap was set and the prey had bitten. The disguise was flawless, a masterpiece of deceptive engineering. Kim's ally was confident. This ruse would force Nathaniel to crawl out from the dark corners. She hungered to see the professor's true face. Now, Kim had to play the dangerous game of patience. He would wait for the monster to reveal itself. Meanwhile, on the roof, Yuna remained blissfully unaware. The man called Professor was Nathaniel's disciple. Now, he sought a direct confrontation with the terrified girl. Panic surged through Yuna. If he discovered her secret alliance with Kim, everything would burn to ashes. She couldn't risk meeting him. One wrong move would put Kim's life in the line of fire. Suddenly, a hand touched her shoulder. Yuna shrieked in terror, thinking her nightmare had finally arrived. Kim chuckled, asking if she had seen a ghost. Yuna tried to flee, but he firmly held her back. He revealed his rank B assassin status while looking for a meal. Yuna desperately tried to shoo him away. Fate played a trick, as she had accidentally ordered enough fried chicken for 2 people. Kim decided to stay, arriving early for his lethal appointment. Yuna's mind raced with the looming danger. Being seen with him meant a death warrant for everyone. She demanded he leave, yet her hands moved. She snatched the chicken while insisting he get out. Kim watched, amused by her blatant, hungry contradiction. She devoured every piece despite her protests. Kim could not help but call out her utter lack of shame. Yuna pressed for his target's name. Kim warned her that knowing the truth would only invite certain death. She begged for the reason behind his arrival. Their meeting was forged in blood and mutual distrust. She knew he was tied to that legendary old man. Even if Peter was gone, the connection remained. Memories of the past flooded back, heavy with guilt. She owed the main character a sincere apology. That old warrior was broken while trying to shield her. She feared Peter was already in his grave. Kim cut her off, his eyes cold. He was hunting a ghost. Yuna demanded to know who. He pulled out a photo of the disciple, Nathaniel. He asked if this face haunted her halls. He knew she was an elite, summoned separately. Yuna scoffed, calling the main character a complete fool. The man in the photo was a fake. Before she could explain, a chilling presence approached them. An unescorted girl was a violation of his rules. A mysterious man emerged, his gaze piercing through Yuna. He ordered her back to the infirmary. Yuna's entire body began to tremble under his suffocating aura. The moment had arrived. Nathaniel had finally shown his face, unaware he was facing his own executioner. He waited for Yuna's explanation, his eyes narrowing. Then he noticed the stranger sitting at her table. He demanded to know who her companion was. Kim rose slowly, showing zero fear to the monster. Yuna froze, sensing the explosive killing intent between them. Yet Kim simply bowed with chilling politeness. A high-rank assassin named Kim greeted the professor, playing his role with chilling perfection. He vowed to deliver Peter's head, masking his legendary killer instincts behind a polite facade. Ignoring the report, the cold disciple ordered Yuna to his room for a private encounter. That single meeting confirmed her fears. Nathaniel was no ordinary man, but a true monster. A nurse mentioned Park Sango's capture, but the instructors dismissed it as mere beginner's luck. The professor disagreed, demanding the report as his dark aura began to fill the room. He reached for the papers, his terrifying presence making every staff member tremble in fear. Paralyzed by pressure, the assistant dropped everything, the documents scattering across the cold floor. While the man apologized, Nathaniel was distracted by the lingering sensation from Kim's handshake. His hand wouldn't stop shaking. He demanded the name of that mysterious, overwhelming young student. The names were Yuna and Kim-Soo. Nathaniel's eyes narrowed, sensing a predator's hidden strength. He decided to keep Kim close, viewing the boy as a fascinating new biological specimen. Radio chatter doubted the escort mission, unaware that the ultimate soldier was already among them. They're hunting Peter, but the wolf is already inside the fold, disguised as a bodyguard. Danger was skyrocketing. Yuna warned him to flee before this hellish place claimed his life. Before leaving, he needed to uncover the dark truth hidden within the hospital's sterile walls. By winning a game, Kim secured a card granting him total access to restricted zones. He was given 3 ironclad rules: stay silent, don't be suspicious, and never question him. Most importantly, never refuse a favor. Kim smirked, hiding his lethal power from the staff. The air grew heavy with dread as they rushed toward Nathaniel's office to avoid his wrath. Kim arrived on time, but his senses screamed that the entire scene was a trap. The rounds began. These weren't doctors, but elite assassins with loyalty only to the professor. They didn't seek glory. They were Nathaniel's personal hounds, trained only to kill and obey. All exits were sealed under a fake quarantine. The trap for Peter was finally shut. They narrowed the search area, certain that the legendary soldier was cornered like a rat. DNA tests would take 2 days. In their minds, science had made escape absolutely impossible. They believed he was trapped, but they underestimated the genius of a man reborn for war. Kim listened to their plans with amusement, knowing Nathaniel's arrogance would be his ultimate undoing. Walking the halls, Kim acted the part of a guard while scouting every single weakness. He promised a sick boy a future, all while calculating the most efficient way to kill. Nathaniel questioned Kim's boredom, wondering why the disciple wasn't showing his true, violent nature. He felt Kim was hiding his true self behind the mask of a humble student bodyguard. Seeing Kim's blank expression, the professor decided to reveal the hospital's most horrific secret. They entered a hidden corridor, a path completely omitted from the facility's official floor plans. Descending the stairs in silence, Kim prepared for the darkness waiting at the route's end. A digital chime echoed as the card swiped, opening the doors to a literal human nightmare. The horror was absolute. Nathaniel called this hellscape his ideal world, where evolution reigned. He asked if Kim understood biology, but the boy played dumb, sticking to basic theories. While most believe in natural selection, the professor had a much more twisted view of life. Darwin was wrong. Here, evolution wasn't a choice of nature, but a creation of Nathaniel. By culling the weak and refining the strong, he believed he was performing ultimate mercy. Suddenly, a piercing alarm blared. Code red. A specimen had escaped its cage in fury. Panic erupted as the facility entered lockdown. The monster was loose, and it was hungry. Guards scrambled in terror. They knew tranquilizers would never stop the beast they had created. They had to kill it immediately, but the real apex predator was already standing among them. With lethal precision, the beast surged toward freedom, nearly clearing the final threshold before the steel gates locked. Time was a heartbeat away from expiring. It knew the closing jaws of the exit meant certain eternal imprisonment. The countdown reached 0 as its hope withered. Suddenly, a shadow exploded from the masonry like a crashing meteor. It was the professor. With a single, monstrous hand, he burst through the stone and pinned the specimen midair. He looked bored, his lecture interrupted by the creature's frantic struggle. With a cold glare, he tightened his iron grip. A sickening crunch echoed as he pulverized the creature's skull into dust. Only a haunting silence remained in the corridor. The threat was erased in a second. Turning to Kim, the professor offered a chilling apology for the messy interruption. He shook the gore from his fingers, his eyes gleaming. He confessed his obsession with forging the ultimate human weapon. He personally sculpted these bodies, driven by a desperate need to surpass a rival who haunted his every waking thought. "You have it, Kim," he whispered. "That raw, terrifying potential. To find such power in a youth was truly miraculous." He challenged the boy to witness his own evolution. He offered him a taste of divine grace and absolute strength. He promised Kim could ascend to a rank status, reaching the legendary heights of a true master's chosen disciple. "That monster is surreal," the woman hissed through the comms. Shattering reinforced walls with bare hands defied all logic. Even worse, he had sensed Kim's life force through solid rock before crushing that creature like a common insect. She screamed for Kim to retreat, but he refused. He needed to uncover the origin of that overwhelming, dark energy. "The clock is ticking," she warned. Their window was closing fast, but Kim spotted a narrow path to the truth. He decided to swap the data. He needed to infiltrate the inner sanctum and bypass the hospital's high-security protocols. She called him insane. One slip meant death, but Kim had already secured a master keycard to the facility. "I won't be caught," Kim countered. He had memorized the professor's movements until they were etched into his mind. He trailed Nathaniel like a ghost during his rounds, calculating every step and every second of his rhythmic routine. He had exactly 4.5 minutes, a razor-thin margin to execute the swap and vanish without a trace. He moved with the silence of a shadow. Outside, Nathaniel maintained his facade, charismatic and calm among his patients. The professor played his role perfectly, charming the staff and nurses as he moved closer to the target zone. Reports from his underlings arrived. The blood results were in his office, yet the search for the target remained empty. Not a single sample matched Peter's profile. The elderly subjects were all dead ends, leaving the henchmen frustrated and confused. Could he be hiding in the vents? They wondered. But Nathaniel knew their enemy was far more cunning than that. He challenged them to imagine the impossible. What if Peter has shed his old skin entirely? He mused darkly. He questioned how an A-rank presence could linger in a disciple's room, while the master was away for 2 days. The schedule was compromised. Kim realized he should have had 2.5 minutes left, but the professor arrived. Nathaniel demanded the truth. Kim wondered if this was a setup. Had the professor baited him into this trap intentionally? Had he shown his secrets in the basement, just to lull Kim into a false sense of strategic superiority? He had been underestimated from the start. Nathaniel loomed over him, waiting for the boy to crack under the pressure. Kim's mind raced, searching for an escape. He forced his breathing to slow, narrowing his focus onto a single lie. He handed over a thick folder, claiming he was merely a messenger delivering urgent documents to the professor's desk. He cited Dr. Hong's direct orders as his cover. He turned to leave, but a heavy hand gripped his shoulder. "Not so fast," Nathaniel whispered. He noted the broken seal on the document, his suspicion turning into a sharp blade. "You opened it, didn't you?" He asked why a student was so fascinated by the blood of dying old men. He pressed Kim, demanding to know what he hoped to find by sneaking into a lion's den, uninvited and alone. Silence filled the room. Then Kim spoke, his voice cutting through the tension with the sharpness of a hidden dagger. "Flesh can be altered, Professor," Kim stated. "Facial features are just masks, but the DNA remains an eternal witness." He suggested Peter was hiding behind a new face. He claimed he was comparing the records of every surgical patient. He argued that none of the gender-swapped or reconstructed patients matched, so he needed a deeper look at the data. He ramped up his acting, bowing his head in a display of calculated, humble regret for his reckless ambition. He begged for forgiveness, claiming his only sin was wanting to impress his master without waiting for proper permission. Nathaniel told him to look up. He placed a single finger on Kim's forehead, sensing the truth hidden within him. He must uphold Glory's prestige even in his own thoughts. He's dismissed, free to leave. Touching Kim's face, he realizes it's genuine. No masks, just youthful, flawless skin. The texture is undeniable. It's too perfect, too young. Kim cannot be Peter. His search hits another dead end. Rage boils within Nathaniel. Where is Peter hiding? The legendary shadow remains out of reach. Enter 𝒂𝒓𝒔, the underground king. Known as Slasher, Mexico's deadliest kicker. His legs are literal weapons. Nathaniel seeks the truth behind the legend. Slasher asks if the Asian man has a death wish. The world's strongest legs shattered instantly. One strike was all it took. The disciple stood over his trophy. He displayed his victory in the arena. Next came the world's strongest fist. Its power was utterly hollow. The champion's arm splintered into fragments. Then, the world's strongest gang fell. Their defeat was absolute and gruesome. Their heads hung like macabre chandeliers. Nathaniel's hunger for power is insatiable. He crushed them all to be supreme. Driven by a dark, unknown obsession, the fallen fighter gasps in agony, "You will never be the best." The words stung like a poisoned blade. As long as Peter breathes, Nathaniel remains in second place. That name is a recurring nightmare. He demands to know Peter's location. His patience has reached its limit. The corpse before him is silent. Fury consumes Nathaniel like a wildfire. Peter is the only ghost he can't catch. To claim the throne, he must kill the king. Someone knows Peter's whereabouts. The hunt moves to the next witness. He orders his men to retrieve the girl. The brothers watch Yuna's every move. Tension thickens in the hospital air. They question Yuna's presence there. She tells them to play their roles, pretend to be mere patients. She's been summoned to the lion's den. A secret mission hides behind her eyes. They suspect nothing of the danger. A voice cuts through the conversation. The professor demands her presence immediately. No questions are allowed here. The brothers tremble at the messenger's identity. He is in a rank nightmare. The undertaker, Santos himself. Santos leads Yuna into the depths. Inside, the professor waits with a photo. It's the face of the legend, Peter. Her first glimpse of the true king, a privilege denied to most disciples. Yet she walked away alive. Did Peter show her mercy? She escaped in a rank killer, too. Is she truly just an ordinary girl? She maintains her mask of innocence. If there's no proof, she must stay silent. Survival depends on her discretion. Nathaniel questions the miracle of her survival. The disciples whisper their own theories. A deal must have been struck. They suspect Peter saved her from Park. In exchange, she became his informant. But what could an orphan offer? Is she a double agent for the ghost? Nathaniel probes for a hidden connection. Her silence is her only defense. The air is thick with lethal suspicion. Nathaniel scoffs at her questions. He holds her life in his hands. She is trapped by her own heart. She won't abandon her dying brother. Her loyalty is bought with blood. Her brother is fading from hemophilia. Years of suffering have left him fragile. His time is running out fast. Nathaniel offers a god-like miracle. A 4.5 billion one serum, one dose to erase the curse. The disease will vanish in an instant. He expects her to choose wisely, side with him or lose everything. The price is simple, absolute betrayal. Peter promised to return on August 24th. She must be the ultimate lure. 2 p.m. in the hospital lobby. She will be bait for the trap. She can never afford the cure alone. A deal with the devil. He offers a room in his sanctuary, but the true price is physical. She didn't see the strike coming. With a sickening snap, her arm breaks. Agony explodes through her entire body. The professor shows his true face. Healthy people don't belong in my wards. He grinds his heel into her injury. Cruelty is his only language. Refusal means her brother suffers next. She lies broken on the cold floor, a prisoner in a gilded cage. He promises to visit her during rounds. Now, she's just another patient, trapped within the hospital's walls. If Kim is discovered, they all die. Yet her brother's life hangs in the balance. The choice is a slow poison. Torn between loyalty and a miracle, a shadow approaches room 604. The door slowly creaks open. Her heart stops as Kim enters, disguised as a nurse with a syringe. "It's time for your injection," he says. Panic surges as she tries to warn him. "Go watch the championship instead," she begs. "Get away from this death trap." She struggles to find the right words, desperately trying to push him away, before the professor notices his prey. Yuna suspects Nathaniel's twisted obsession. Despite being her professor, he has forgotten his sins. He crushed her arm and now demands the culprit's identity. Yuna hesitates, drowning in secrets. She questions the 24th, probing for the dark motive behind that specific, looming date. Hiding her true intent, she orders him to the hospital lobby at 2 p.m. sharp. Stop asking questions and just follow. For Yuna, this is a desperate, final gamble. Nathaniel agrees to the meeting. Outside, a heavy downpour begins to mask the world. Tears fall onto her brother's photo. Doubt consumes her. Did she just trigger a disaster? Kim hears her silent plea. Outside, the hospital banner flutters as the fateful day arrives. The 24th is finally here. The professor gloats, eager to corner the legendary Peter. Through an earpiece, he commands Yuna. He will do anything to unmask his elusive prey. He assumes Peter is already approaching the lobby. Time is rapidly running out for everyone. The clock ticks toward 2. Every passing second feels like a lifetime in this silence. 2 p.m. strikes. Yuna is shattered by her decision. Nathaniel waits like a hungry predator. Meanwhile, Kim navigates the corridors. He casually asks if her brother has a boyfriend. He noticed guys in her photos and felt curious. She clarifies they are just friends. He is relieved. That handsome guy, he would love to play soccer with him someday. In 3 years, he dreams of cheering for Korea at the World Cup together. These are just the delusions of a weary soldier dreaming of a normal life. Closing his eyes, he escapes into that dream. Peace is his only remaining desire. Yuna promised a miracle medicine, a single dose to cure his condition forever. That promise was made through the pain of a broken arm. Her brother's fate looms. Trapped with no escape, she hears Nathaniel's cold voice demanding Peter's exact location. Kim is already at the hospital, ready to fulfill his promise. The clock hits 2. Yuna waits in the lobby, the designated trap. Nathaniel's anticipation is at its peak. Minutes pass with no sign of him. The professor's friendly mask begins to crumble. He snarls at Yuna, demanding an explanation. Why has the legendary killer not appeared? Yuna realizes Kim is safe. He is at the outdoor clock, not the lobby. The old man went to the wrong place. She purposely misled him in their conversation. She told Kim to wait in the garden. If he entered the lobby, he would die. Kim watches the garden clock, oblivious to the assassins. Nathaniel's rage is brewing. The building is crawling with the professor's henchmen. One mistake means instant death. Even for a legendary soldier, this environment is suicidal. Precaution is his only shield. Yuna prays for his escape. This mysterious young man had changed her entire world. She suspected him at first, but their simple meals together melted her frozen defenses. With him, she experienced true kindness and moments she will cherish forever. She learned to trust him when it mattered most. He was more than a protector. Kim was the first person to sincerely care about her dreams and her potential. Betraying someone so important is impossible. She cannot sell out her only true friend. Time is up. Through the earpiece, Nathaniel's voice turns into a lethal, cold whisper. Trembling, she confesses. She lied about Peter just to get the medicine she needed. The offer was tempting, but her conscience won. She knew the old man's cruelty. Lost and desperate, she begs the professor. She offers herself in exchange for mercy. Crying, she pleads for her brother's safety. Do whatever you want to me instead. Nathaniel's response is chilling. Without Peter, she is nothing but a useless, broken tool. You failed me, he sneers. Now the price for her betrayal is her life. Death's omen loomed over her as the thugs closed in suddenly. The hospital's silence shattered, a fire alarm wailed. Chaos erupted, forcing everyone to flee for their lives. Even the notorious assassin brothers retreated, abandoning their blood-soaked mission. But mid-escape, a chilling realization struck. Every exit was sealing shut, trapping them within cold steel barriers. Not one emergency door remained open. The entire hospital had become a tomb for anyone left inside. The brothers stood frozen, baffled by the sudden lockdown, while, in the lobby, Nathaniel watched with cold, calculating eyes. Surrounded by his goons, he sensed a trap. No smoke, no scent of burning. This wasn't a fire, it was a move. He ordered an investigation, immediately, for Yuna. This sudden alarm was an unexpected storm in her darkest hour. Through her tears, heavy footsteps echoed. A shadow peered. Kim was standing right there, calm as the abyss. Dry your eyes, he whispered, though she was confused. Kim remembered his promise. They were destined to meet at the clock. In a fire, people run for their lives, but those still standing here aren't seeking safety. They aren't doctors or patients. That doctor, A hidden killer that patient. Clutching a baseball bat, the hospital was crawling with wolves in sheep's clothing. Blades flashed in the hallways. Every corner held a threat, but Kim had a message for every assassin present. Yuna watched in awe while Nathaniel struggled to grasp the situation. Is he really trying to save her? He had suspected Kim's motives. From the start, that handshake earlier, it wasn't the grip of an ordinary person. Nathaniel sensed the hidden power. He wanted to see if this boy could truly withstand the storm. Could he handle these monsters? They were forged in Brazil's most brutal favelas, where death is a constant neighbor. Where life expectancy is barely 16, and only the most ruthless survive the carnage, evolving into true demons. Many die before they reach age 10, amidst a relentless river of corpses. This was their brutal reality. The city of funerals, where the weak are buried, and the strong feast on their remains. Through kidnapping, drugs, and blood, the funeral agents carved their path, dominating the underworld of Brazil. They are the ultimate kings of violence, and now 100 of their elite members are here. Nathaniel waited with twisted anticipation. How would Kim face 100 professional killers all at once? A smile crept onto his face. He saw potential like a young tiger cub destined for greatness. With the right grooming, Kim would become the ultimate predator, a king among beasts. But cubs can't kill lions, yet he needed the professor to secure his bloody future as an assassin. Kim's response. A cold, indifferent shrug. The legendary offer meant nothing to his determined heart. The choice was made. Kim thirsted for the fight, two thugs charged blades ready to pierce flesh. A bald killer grinned, eager for his steel to sing pure, unadulterated violence, was about to explode. In a flash, Kim neutralized them like mere insects. The survivors watched in absolute horror, unable to blink. Yuna was stunned. He struck vital points, without even looking, a dance of perfect lethality. Spinning his pen, Kim asked, "Do I still look like a tiger cub to you, Professor? Do you know how fast a life fades? 1 minute for a vein, 12 seconds for an artery. 100 men, 1 minute each." Nathaniel wondered if Kim could keep this up for 100 minutes. The foreign mercenaries mocked Korea, calling it a soft, boring land with no thrill. No betting, no real football, just jokes. They missed the bloody rush of the favelas. They craved the old gunfire, but nostalgia is a luxury the dead can't afford. He died before the thought finished, sending his partner on a one-way trip to meet God. They threatened him with a slow death. Yuna trembled, fearing Kim was finally cornered. Trapped in a dead-end hallway, Kim saw the rest didn't care about their fallen brothers. They laughed, hardened by a world where graves are dug daily for those who fail. A Korean boy couldn't fathom the hell of Rio, where every minute is a fight for survival. Though outnumbered, Kim danced through the blades, but they knew his luck would run dry. Trapped again with no escape, Nathaniel watched, eager to see how Kim would break the deadlock. Dozens of elite killers blocked the path, ready to claim his life. The odds were astronomical. Against such numbers, any ordinary man would have perished instantly, but Kim was no ordinary man. That spot was perfect. Behind him sat the cabinet he needed. The Rio thugs watched, confused. They waited for his move, then he pulled out a heavy fire hose. The gang laughed. Losing to a water jet seemed impossible to them. Then, the high-pressure blast exploded forward. Punks were swept down the hall like trash. Kim smirked, telling them the real show starts now. The Brazilian wave crashed through the hospital. With space cleared, Kim noticed something. The water stopped. The tank was empty. Their little water game ended earlier than he had hoped. The thugs mocked his cleverness, claiming water cannot kill. Kim just smiled. This was only the beginning. In his grip was a medical defibrillator. He pressed both paddles onto the soaked floor. The true nightmare began. Every thug in the water took a devastating electric shock. Kim stayed dry. More bodies hit the floor. Nathaniel watched, mesmerized by the boys' cold efficiency and brutal performance. He was captivated by Kim's supposed foolishness. Then, Nathaniel realized he was wrong about the boy. If their numbers dropped this fast, Kim would not need an hour. He would finish them in minutes. He thanked Kim for the entertainment. Picking up a notebook, he began recording the massacre. He sketched as the surviving Brazilians charged. A grim drawing of a neck appeared on the page. He marked the carotid artery, predicting fatal hemorrhaging. That is how everyone from Rio would die. The first victim did not even see it coming. This Korean student was not human, he was a monster. He transformed into a killing machine, more lethal than Rio streets. They could not hope to react. No exposed neck was safe from his simple pen. It moved with surgical precision and lethal speed. They were mere snails, and Kim was the salt. Their street reputation meant nothing in Korea. Here, his pen was mightier than a rifle. His legendary skills reached a transcendent, terrifying level. He carved a path through a mountain of corpses. This did not even require his full power. That tiny pen was more dangerous than any blade. Dead bodies now outnumbered the living. The remaining thugs made a desperate final stand. They piled onto Kim in a massive human wave. The assassin's sheer power repelled them all, yet watched the slaughter, unable to look away. Was this the legend of the world's strongest man? People used to whisper about his greatness. Rumors described an old man, but this was different. She never expected such a one-sided victory. She realized the rumors were true, but understated. This young boy held the power of a god. Before her, Kim performed the impossible. He dismantled an army of professional assassins with ease. He used nothing but a pen. Now, the entire floor was painted in a sea of red. Nathaniel was deeply impressed. Whether as a fan or a rival, he knew Kim was special. The carnage ended in exactly 13 minutes. Kim declared he was not done with the professor yet. The choice was now Nathaniel's. Would he face Kim or let the boy come to him? Like a legendary villain, the professor descended. The floor cracked beneath his overwhelming weight. Landing before Kim, he asked if that sufficed. Now the final showdown was finally about to begin. Nathaniel was curious about one thing. How could someone so young possess such monstrous, refined skill? It defied all logic. He did not look like a foreign agent, he was just too young. Kim shot back with his own question. Why do cowards always talk so much before a fight? Nathaniel grinned at the taunt. He warned Kim that arrogance is no substitute for true fighting spirit. A powerful strike flew toward Kim. He crossed his arms to block the devastating, bone-crushing impact. The force lifted Kim off his feet. Even the girl was stunned by the professor's terrifying strength. Kim hit the ground but kept his guard. He locked onto his opponent with predator-like focus. That superhuman power felt unreal. Yuna realized the situation had turned incredibly dark and dangerous. Nathaniel assumed Kim was exhausted. Fighting 100 assassins must have drained his remaining stamina. Yuna shouted for Kim to dodge. Blocking those heavy blows was a recipe for certain death. Nathaniel mocked him, asking if he was tired. He then armed himself using his fallen henchman's weapons. Total shock. Even though Kim managed to guard, the sheer impact of those karaoke bodies rattled his core. Nathaniel claims he's spent, but Kim isn't accepting any excuses. This legend is going full throttle today. With a single hand, he hurled Kim against the wall. Yet, his strength isn't the most terrifying part. Kim's physical durability is monstrous. He wonders what kind of hellish training forged such an insane, unbreakable body. Nathaniel lands a vicious flying knee. Above, Yuna is already in tears, certain that Kim won't survive this. She watches the elevator plummet. In that confined space, Kim is trapped with a literal high-speed killing machine. Nathaniel sneers, knowing there is no escape. Kim remains silent, radiating a cold, predatory aura in the dark. Ignoring the taunts, the disciple focuses on one goal, finishing this annoying brat before he can even react. He pummels Kim's face relentlessly. Is that all? Are you really just going to stand there and die? He demands to see Kim's fighting spirit. Apparently, this supposed challenger is just another ordinary, pathetic weakling. The blows are so violent, the elevator walls begin to buckle and dent from the pure kinetic force. Pure brutality snaps the heavy steel cables. This metal box is rapidly turning into a vertical steel coffin. The elevator hits the ground with a thunderous crash, vaporizing itself. Dust and debris fill the entire shaft. As the smoke clears, the shattered door lies on the floor, bearing the marks of Nathaniel's savage fists. Yuna's desperate screams echo from above. She's frantic, searching for any possible way to reach the bottom floor. Nathaniel is plagued by questions. He expected Peter, but Kim showed up instead. What is their hidden connection? Is Kim just another lifeless corpse now? That is the usual fate for anyone who dares cross his path. He fights with absolute sincerity, and in his world, that sincerity always leads to a swift, bloody death. Yet the more he thinks, the more frustrated he gets. He stares at Kim, expecting a broken mess. Suddenly, he notices something impossible. There isn't a single scratch on Kim's face. The nightmare has just started. That flying knee was meant to pulverize bone. Every strike was delivered with lethal, soul-crushing intent. Kim stands up and yawns. He apologizes, claiming he drifted off because the fight was just too boring. That cold provocation shatters Nathaniel's composure. Now, the real, legendary violence is about to erupt. Since Nathaniel mentioned being sincere, Kim decides it's only fair to return that same level of devastating honesty. "Come at me," Kim challenges. He's ready to show this disciple the true meaning of a sincere strike. Nathaniel charges like a man possessed by rage. This clash will finally decide who truly stands at the top. Kim counters the disciple's heavy punch with his own. The security cameras capture every frame of this collision. His team watches the feed, trembling with worry. But the mysterious woman remains calm, recalling an old legend. 55 years ago, a master asked children about the source of strength. Their answers were all very different. Those were all good theories, but then she gave them a task: break the massive boulder standing before them. After a week of hellish training, they were expected to shatter solid rock with nothing but bare hands. Most thought it was impossible. They mocked Peter, claiming his bandages wouldn't save him from certain failure. Even as he struck the stone, the snotty kids sneered. "A weakling like him will never break it." Days turned into nights. Under the moonlight, Peter never stopped. His fists continued their relentless, rhythmic assault. A month passed. The others assumed he'd finally given up on his hopeless, stubborn, and impossible goal. The stone seemed intact. They couldn't understand why the master still favored this seemingly talentless, quiet boy. "Look to the side," the girl whispered. There, a mountain of rubble sat where several boulders once stood. Peter had decimated them all. Back in the present, those legendary, ancient fists collide with a deafening boom. Nathaniel brags about deadlift records. 500 kilos is nothing compared to the monstrous power he wields. He demands to know Kim's secret. He's way beyond human limits without even using any visible mana enhancement. Kim just asks a weird question. "Have you ever been hit by a speeding car before, Nathaniel?" Nathaniel is confused, but Kim promises his next punch will hurt much worse than any head-on traffic accident. Upon impact, the disciple flies back like a rag doll, shattering the concrete wall into a million pieces. Kim isn't finished. He begins returning every single strike he dodged earlier with terrifying, pinpoint, lethal precision. He pummels Nathaniel like he's collecting a debt, using open-palm slaps to humiliate the self-proclaimed martial genius. Blood paints the floor as the brutal assault continues. Kim stands like a statue, watching the professor. The old man assumes it is over. A skull crushed against stone should have shattered into pieces. But victory remains elusive. Even our protagonist is stunned to see the monster still breathing. Nathaniel mocks him. Kim's own knuckles are shattered, yet his enemy's skin remains like iron armor. He claims mastery over the laws of evolution. Now, he will reveal his ultimate, terrifying form. Tearing off his clothes, he unveils a physique that defies nature. A living weapon stands before them. Kim stares in horror. What kind of madness did this man inflict upon his own flesh? This is the peak of twisted science. A body so unnaturally ripped, It lacks even human features. "Antifragile," he roars. To him, pain is fuel, and every wound is an invitation to grow. His muscles undergo instantaneous mutation when damaged. A secret drug has erased the need for recovery. The more Kim strikes, the more invincible he becomes. The odds of victory have dropped to 0. Survival depends on one rule: do not get caught. But fate is cruel and the trap closes. With a roar of fury, Nathaniel prepares to pulverize Kim's slender frame into the cold concrete. The impact is seismic. Stone shatters as a cloud of debris swallows the entire arena like a fog. That death grip has claimed 1,000 souls. No one has ever walked away from that crushing force. Nathaniel expects a corpse, but the boy is gone. How could anyone react in a tenth of a second? In a heartbeat, Kim jammed his fingers into the monster's grip, carving out a sliver of space. His reflexes transcend human limits. Every decision was a masterpiece of survival, executed in perfect harmony. Kim's heart hammers. 1 second longer and he would have been erased. His hands feel like they are burning. This monster shatters walls with a flick. He crushes human skulls like they were nothing but soft fruit. One absolute truth remains. If those hands lock around him again, Kim will not survive the night. Nathaniel smirks, citing Kim's secret files. He's stronger than any A-rank assassin, yet still outmatched. Evolution is an unstoppable tide. He demands that Kim grovel like a dog for a chance at life. He wants to force-feed Kim his twisted serum, turning the boy into a glorious, mindless beast. Kim slowly raises his hand. Nathaniel's team watches the cameras, praying the boy isn't surrendering. The old man sees potential. He is willing to forget the rebellion just to possess that raw power. His greed for strength outweighs his rage. He expects the boy to bow before his absolute might. But Kim isn't begging. He's preparing a lesson. For arrogant brats, discipline is the only answer. The audacity is staggering. Kim's defiance is pushing the mad scientist toward the edge of insanity. With a ground-shaking roar, the lunatic charges. Kim meets the storm head-on, refusing to back down. The clash is a blur of violence. 2 titans turning the entire room into a graveyard of steel. Kim is a ghost, landing clean, devastating strikes. Every punch finds its mark with surgical precision. Yet the wall of muscle doesn't flinch. On the monitors, the team can only see pure carnage. This has transcended a human struggle. Nathaniel recognizes a strength he has never encountered before. Kim is a different breed of warrior. But the nightmare continues. Nathaniel is still evolving mid-combat. The sensation is euphoric. For the first time, the monster is feeling the true ecstasy of battle. He dreams of how hard his skin can become. How much power can one body truly hold? Amidst the chaos, a question burns. Where does this boy get his terrifying level of strength? There is a secret buried in Kim's medical records, something that defies every law of biology. Why won't he break? After such a brutal onslaught, the boy's spirit remains unyielding and fierce. Enough games. Nathaniel lunges, snagging Kim's leg. The verdict has been passed. Death is coming. He will dissect the boy like a lab specimen. Every bone and cell will be stripped bare. A final promise is whispered. The last thing Kim will see is the fist that ends him. The observation team screams in horror. Through the static, they search for any sign of life. But the monster's words echo. He grows stronger with every hit. Recovery time has been erased. Patience was Kim's deadliest weapon. He waited until Nathan's shock turned into pure terror. Kim calculated every second until those massive muscles swelled and backfired. The predator became the prey. Flesh crushed against bone as Nathan's own strength became his cage. He was completely paralyzed. Blinded by his own arrogance, he missed the warning signs. His entire body had turned to stone. A fatal flaw exposed in minutes. Something even a grandmaster missed, this boy dismantled instantly. Victory was absolute. Kim's cold smile was the final spark that sent Nathan into a frenzy. This couldn't be reality. Had he slaughtered thousands just to be humiliated by a mere child? He endured the agony of 1,000 modifications to become the pinnacle of human evolution. Yet here stood his executioner. That damn boy was about to erase 30 years of progress. With one final, desperate movement, he pulled a rainbow-colored pin from his sandal. The ultimate forbidden drug. It wrought his muscles but forged him into a perfect killing organism. 3 minutes of life remained. If Nathan was going to hell, he'd drag Kim down with him. His body roared back to life as blood sprayed. Each step shattered the ground like thunder. Kim braced for the impact. The man before him had discarded his humanity to become a demon, burning his very soul as fuel. This was the terrifying peak of his twisted life's work. Yet Kim predicted every strike. Battling him felt like facing an army of 1,000 ghosts. A chilling realization dawned. This wasn't D-rank power, it was the weight of 1,000 lifetimes. Such overwhelming experience was impossible. How could a teenager possess the wisdom of an ancient god? Kim stood in an unreachable realm. He was the shadow of the man closest to godhood. Flashback to 2003. A young Nathan swore an oath to heal the world's suffering. He was once a healer who vowed to protect the dignity and ethics of medicine. Nobody recognized the monster now. Back then, he was just a 13-year-old medical prodigy. In 1994, he lay bedridden, a sick child cursed with a body that refused to work. Why was he born weak? He hated the heavens for choosing him to be a victim of fate. Then he saw it, the molting process, creatures shedding their skin to emerge stronger and reborn. If God wouldn't fix him, he would evolve himself. He would shed his human limits. 2012. A killer with a gunshot wound arrived in the emergency room, barely breathing. While others recoiled, Nathan stepped forward, not to save a life but to claim a specimen. Ethics meant nothing anymore. This wasn't surgery, it was his first step into the dark abyss. His heart raced with a dark thrill. He stared at the mountain of muscle before him. The strongest body he'd ever seen. He hungered to know what secrets lay beneath that skin. The vascularity and raw volume were magnificent. He had to know why they were different. Fascination turned into a grisly obsession. He needed to see the internal clockwork of a god. The scalpel wavered only for a second. Should he preserve humanity or force its evolution? The patient's hand slipped. Nathan surrendered to the darkness and began his first human dissection. Horrified witnesses forced him to flee. He found a new, blood-soaked laboratory in South America. With an endless supply of bodies, his research flourished. He finally validated his twisted theories. By slaughtering the strong, he confirmed his own progress. The harvest of death had begun. He was supposed to be the new god of humanity. Instead, he met a monster in glasses. One strike sent the perfect human, bouncing through the rubble like a broken toy. The dust settled on his ruined dreams. Nathan lay dying, leaning against the cold pipes. His spine was shattered, his life fading. Kim's voice was as cold as a grave. Every breath was a nail in his coffin. Nathan begged for one final truth before the end. 30 years of seeking power, only to be crushed. How did this boy become so invincible? Kim looked down at the fallen giant. Some secrets are far too heavy for the dying. Kim's 65 years of hidden grit were forged in blood, a mastery impossible for his youthful face. Looking at the boy, the doctor saw Peter's legendary silhouette flickering like a ghost from the past. Even as a healer, some mysteries were beyond him, yet he died content after meeting the legend. Life finally ebbed from the doctor's body, marking the grim end of the hospital's violent siege. With Nathaniel gone and his carrier neutralized, every trace of the glory assassins was scrubbed from existence. Normalcy returned as the twins pestered their professor, eager to ascend to the prestigious rank C status. The professor scolded their arrogance, though they claimed their cocky attitude was merely a calculated performance. They bragged about the Brazilian assassin's defeat, demanding that Yuna recount the details of the bloody encounter. Kim watched Yuna closely, noticing her lingering sorrow for her bedridden brother despite their hard-won victory. Nathaniel's promise of a miracle cure weighed heavily on her soul, a hope that seemed lost forever. One dose would save him, yet Kim's concern only made her retreat further into her own thoughts. She lied, claiming she was merely dreaming of school food, hiding the despair of the destroyed serum. With the cure supposedly gone, nothing felt right, yet she struggled to keep her composure for Kim. Kim sensed her inner strength, believing she would find another way despite her skeptical, tearful eyes. Reaching their destination, Kim savored the scent of Korea, the sweet fragrance of home finally returning. The professor ordered them to rest immediately, ensuring they wouldn't be late for the next school day. Kim spotted a forgotten package in the van, asking Yuna if she intended to leave it behind. He suggested her brother might need it, shocking her with his knowledge of her family's private pain. Her eyes widened in disbelief as she opened the gift, her heart swelling with an overwhelming surge. Inside lay the serum Nathaniel had promised. Kim had reclaimed the treasure from the hospital ruins. Grateful tears flowed as she clutched the suitcase, the final hope for her brother's life now in hand. At the ruins, investigators stared at the carnage, unable to explain the supernatural level of violence present. The sheer scale of destruction defied logic, looking more like a disaster than the work of human hands. Vandalized and broken, the site left them wondering if the phantom known as Peter was truly responsible. Footage confirmed the legend's presence, yet he left no witnesses, moving through the shadows like a spirit. Men trembled as they spoke of ghosts, their fear drawing the attention of mysterious, hooded figures nearby. They tried to take back their words, but the hooded shadows demanded the absolute, terrifying truth instead. Paralyzed by terror, the man collapsed as invisible blades began to carve into his very flesh. The assassin sheathed his blade, warning that the name Peter was a curse forbidden to be spoken. Nathaniel's death meant nothing to them. It was merely proof that their new disciples required more training. They viewed his demise as unfortunate timing, yet they already planned a brutal reception for the legendary Peter. They vowed to unleash a merciless beating, invoking the terrifying presence of the legendary ghost of the sword. A bald instructor gathered them, announcing their new roles as volunteers for an upcoming, mysterious mission. The siblings cheered at the prospect of a mission, their excitement providing a strange contrast to danger. Kim and Yuna watched their comedic antics with second-hand embarrassment, wondering how they could be so loud. Assigned to a remote port, the group stared at the small boats, confused by the mundane task ahead. This wasn't the heroic volunteering they imagined, leaving the siblings questioning the nature of their assignment. True heroism often involves humble work, but the siblings threw a dramatic tantrum demanding more glory. Their complaints vanished when teacher Yin appeared, her stunning beauty instantly capturing their wandering, fickle attention. Motivated by her presence, they began working with sudden intensity, desperate to impress their beautiful instructor. Yuna sighed at their hopeless behavior, while Kim remained suspicious of their deployment to this distant location. They were 500 kilometers from the capital, a distance that hinted at a deeper, hidden purpose. The professor urged them to remain low profile, blending into the background while they investigated the area. Kim paced the perimeter, his mind racing as he sought the hidden truth behind their sudden relocation. Seeing his dark expression, Yuna asked if he was okay as they rested near the teacher. The teacher politely brushed off the student's flattery about her youth, maintaining her professional boundaries. Yuna watched with cold eyes, annoyed by the students' blatant lack of respect for their superior. As the volunteers gathered, the school janitor stepped forward to officially introduce himself to the group. He cracked a classic dad joke to lighten the mood, but the youth met it with silence. The pristine grounds impressed Yuna, making her question the true purpose of their volunteer mission here. Following the janitor's lead, Yuna felt a growing suspicion that this wasn't a normal school visit. Suddenly, 2 thugs appeared to extort the school, demanding protection money from the helpless staff. The school had nothing to give, but the heartless mobsters refused to leave without a tribute. They settled for harvested potatoes, only to cruelly hurl them back at the elderly janitor's face. Claiming to be businessmen, the thugs sneered at the broken rules while escalating their violent threats. Yuna warned Kim to stay back, unaware the legendary soldier was already analyzing his next strike. The teacher pleaded for mercy, but the lead mobster's gaze turned predatory as he approached her. He suggested she sell her beauty to pay the debt, until a hand suddenly blocked his path. "A man's hand is for protecting, not for striking women," Kim declared with chilling, absolute authority. The thug scoffed, but Kim's aura shifted. He was ready to punish this clown for his insolence. Despite the teacher's desperate pleas, Kim stood his ground as the first punch was finally thrown. Shrugging off the blow like a mosquito bite, Kim mocked the thug's lack of actual physical power. "Don't focus on the small things," Kim whispered before delivering a swift, devastating lesson in violence. Later, as the brothers recovered in the infirmary, the teacher apologized for the day's brutal chaos. The janitor lamented their bad luck with the local mob, grateful that the volunteers had intervened. He urged them to rest, unaware he was speaking to a hidden monster in students' clothing. Kim watched his recovering ally, his mind drifting back to the blood-stained shadows of his past. He recalled the church assassins, knowing that true strength lies in knowing when to hold back. Today was quite merciful, Kim thought, silencing the brothers' praise as he walked into the night. Under a starlit sky, Yuna sat alone on a swing, reflecting on the madness of recent days. Everything had changed so fast, especially after she found the bag Kim left in her car. Inside was the miracle serum for her brother. She wept, overwhelmed by Kim's silent, life-saving gift. This suitcase could rewrite her family's fate, yet she had no idea how to thank him. Kim appeared like a phantom, asking if she was still worried about her brother's fragile health. Startled by his sudden presence, Yuna wondered if he was a ghost or a guardian angel. With him standing there, she struggled to find the courage to voice her deep, unspoken gratitude. As she fumbled for words, Kim simply acknowledged her thanks with a calm, knowing gaze. Looking at the stars, he remembered her desperate bravery during the chaos at the hospital garden. He recalled her cries for help and her fierce will to protect those she truly loved. Her courage that day was incredible, and Kim finally admitted his own gratitude to the stunned girl. Yuna brushed it off, but her curiosity about Kim's true identity finally reached a breaking point. She questioned his link to Peter, unable to believe a rank could crush someone like Nathaniel. Kim's expression remained a mask, promising to reveal the truth only when the time was right. Her heart sank at his secrecy. The mystery of the legendary soldier was becoming an obsession. When Kim pushed for an answer, Yuna's typical tsundere nature flared up in a loud shout. "I already said I'm grateful," she yelled, her face flushing red from his annoying persistence. She stormed off, convinced he was teasing her, yet she remained wary of his magnetic presence. Kim smiled, satisfied to see his allies growing, even as his own mission remained unfinished. Back inside the quiet school, the moonlight cast long, eerie shadows down the narrow, empty hallways. As Kim walked toward his dorm, a flickering light from a nearby room caught his sharp eye. The veteran offered a final word of warning. "Rest now, for exhaustion is a slow poison that steals your youth and sharpens the reaper's blade." He tossed out a dry joke about his weight, but the air remained heavy. Kim didn't even blink. This was no time for hollow laughter. Realizing his help wasn't needed, he turned to leave. But before stepping out, he cast one last piercing glance at the clumsy boy. To a man who had inhaled the metallic tang of blood for decades, the boy's amateurish attempts to mask his killing intent were utterly pathetic. The stench of slaughter clung to him like a second skin. Kim had entered this school as a volunteer, but his true goal was far more lethal. He was hunting a ghost, the legendary disciple Simon, a man whose blade danced with a precision unmatched by anyone on this entire planet. The saint of the spinning blade. Kim's research was flawless, but he knew that standing before such a legend meant walking into death's domain. One microscopic error or heartbeat of hesitation would grant his opponent a killing blow. But the man before him was no ordinary prey. It was as if the master were reading his very soul. Every strike was parried before it began. This was the pinnacle of divine swordsmanship. You can outrun a bullet, but there is no escaping the arc of a master's steel. Within his range, death is the only absolute certainty. In a flash of cold metal, his every movement was sealed. Kim had to know if this man was a true god of war or just a myth. Simon smirked. Only 2 souls had ever survived 10 of his strikes. The boy should feel honored to be the 3rd person alive. Most humans are slaves to their habits. Their breathing and their movements are a language the legendary killer has mastered over a lifetime. He had his suspicions before, but in the heat of battle, the impossible became undeniable. The truth was written in the flow of steel. Suddenly, the legendary saint plunged his sword into the earth. Simon, the knight of the night sky, froze in pure, unadulterated shock. The invincible samurai dropped to his knees in a deep salute. He wasn't greeting a foe, but bowing to his legendary brother, Peter. "I've missed you, big brother." The words trembled with disbelief. Had the legend truly cheated death and returned in this young, vibrant body? Peter simply nodded. In a way, reincarnation was the only explanation. Simon's relief was palpable. The ghost he mourned was finally standing there. Simon burned with a desire to follow him, but Peter's gaze remained cold. The time for a true reunion was not yet at hand. He noticed his brother now carried himself with a sharp, cool intensity, a far cry from the man he once served in the past. The title of saint suited Simon perfectly, even if Peter teased him. But to Simon, the idea of Peter falling was simply an impossibility. Despite years of wielding nothing but a janitor's broom, Peter's instincts were razor-sharp. The sword felt strangely familiar in his youthful grip. Every ounce of Simon's legendary skill was a gift from Peter. The master who taught him to dance with death had finally returned. But why here? Peter brought up the recent carnage at the hospital, the fall of Nathaniel that sent shockwaves through the entire criminal underworld. The chaos was undeniable. Simon could hardly fathom that his dead brother was the hurricane responsible for such absolute and total destruction. He needed answers. Why would a legend resurface just to stir the hornet's nest? Peter didn't bother with lies or pretty, hollow words. "I'm going to tear glory down to the studs." The declaration was chilling. Simon warned him. The organization had evolved into a monstrous entity. He begged to join the crusade, but Peter's command was absolute. "Stay here and clean the school. This is his war to fight." Simon's heart ached to follow, but he couldn't abandon the cover he had spent years perfecting. The shadows of the past still lingered. He remembered that blood-soaked night clearly. If Peter hadn't intervened, Simon would have been another nameless corpse in a forgotten, cold grave. Peter was the one who elevated him to greatness at the risk of his own life. That debt of honor was worth everything. The story began 60 years ago at the Honor Orphanage. Founded by Father Gabriel, it was a cradle for monsters disguised as children. Out of those hundreds, only 12 were chosen. Peter was the jewel among them. Life, there was a daily, brutal struggle for breath. They were forged in the fires of hell, treated like beasts until they became the nation's most lethal secret agents. The 12 disciples. They reshaped the world from the shadows. But then, a new boy arrived at the orphanage, a viper the priest unwisely took in. As the years bled by, that child's ambition grew into a dark obsession. He eventually seized the crown, igniting Simon's righteous, burning fury. That was the night Peter held him back. It wasn't the time for a suicidal charge, while glory was rotting from the inside. Under the new regime, glory became a syndicate of slaughter. A bastion of corruption fueled by blood and many broken, forgotten promises. Peter, once powerless against the tide, now held the ultimate weapon. He had been granted a second chance, the miracle of absolute youth. He told Simon to stay back and watch. The structure of sin they built was about to come crashing down by his hand. As morning finally arrived at the school, a new era began. The students were left in awe, idolizing the legendary student Kim. The siblings were baffled. They had done the heavy lifting, yet the children looked at Kim as if he were a god. The teacher braced for a war zone, but the silence was deafening. The thugs were gone, and the brothers knew they were finished. With a firm handshake, the message was delivered. The underworld had been warned. Touch this school again, and you will face his wrath. The mobsters retreated into the shadows, trembling. They had seen a glimpse of true power and knew that returning meant a certain death. They'll witness an S-rank's fury. To the siblings, it was just another day. Mission complete. Heading back to the capital, the teacher offers her heartfelt thanks, leaving behind warm memories and one terrible janitor joke that nearly makes Yuna snap. We'll return every year. The teacher smiles, unaware of the danger they truly face. Before the departure, the old man pulls the boy aside. Call my disciple, Simon, if needed. A legendary blade at his command. Peter wishes the old man safety and peace. As the sun sets, the heavens open up. A violent storm begins to brew. Thunder shakes the school's very foundation as lightning tears through the darkened sky. Amidst the chaos, the janitor reads his paper. Peace was a rare gift lately. Unexpected shadows emerge from the rain. These aren't your typical volunteers. What brings you to my isolation? The air grows heavy with killing intent. Found you, Saint of the Spinning Sword. The legend's hiding spot is finally exposed. Simon recognizes the glory crest. Japan's deadliest blade has arrived for his head. The sword phantom herself, a monster known for her merciless, jagged steel. Simon ignores the titles. Looking for fame, you've come to the wrong place. I only care about the bounty, she sneers. Simon's eyes turn ice cold. You've traveled far for nothing. I'm not even the strongest one here. Challenging the saint, pure arrogance, their fighting spirits ignite the night. I'll give you a warm welcome. The janitor's aura explodes with power. Steel meets steel. A dance of death begins under the pouring rain. Light flashes through the window. A clash of titans shakes the entire room. Blades collide with bone-shattering force. Simon holds his ground like a mountain. The phantom is disappointed. Is age finally slowing down the great Simon? Blood trickles down his arm. He's rusty, but his spirit remains completely unbroken. In my prime, you'd be a corpse already, she responds with a twisted grin. Don't get cocky, old man. But Simon's focus shifts to the man behind her. Luring them into the open, the symphony of clashing metal resumes. Damaging public property, I'll have to report this. Simon's sarcasm cuts deep. No witnesses, no crime, she laughs. You're taking your last breath today. Simon leaps into the storm. Running away, she taunts, giving chase immediately. Through the drenching rain, the predators close in on their legendary prey. Simon glides through the forest. Every step is a calculated move toward victory. He sharpens his focus. Her blade isn't a sword, it's a flesh-tearing saw. Designed to shatter souls, one graze from those teeth could be fatal. A sinister secret lurks in their shadows. The hunt intensifies through the woods. Trapped against the elements, Simon turns, his gaze sharp enough to kill. A beautiful place to die, she mocks. Simon only offers a knowing smile. Want to know why I'm the saint? Save the talk for hell, she screams. Suddenly, the man freezes. He senses a terrifying shift in the air. Experience isn't just theory, it's instinct. Simon becomes one with the storm. Cutting the rain and the sea, his ultimate sword technique finally awakens. Dodge, the man screams, but the blade is already at her throat. A trajectory beyond human perception. The strike is flawless, absolute, and terrifying. Decades of mastery distilled into one strike. The divine state has arrived. A scream pierces the night. Finally, the janitor is having some real fun. Next victim, the veteran killer sneers. Simon's form was flawless, but his edge has long since dulled. Abandoning his training was a fatal mistake. Now, Simon stares into the abyss of his own failure. A sudden chill washes over him. A crimson line blooms across his gut, a strike he never saw. Impossible. No blade crossed his sight. The man mocks him, laughing at Simon's pathetic delusion of victory. Hearing that voice, Simon reels. He was certain he'd struck her. Was he possessed by a ghost? His reality shatters. This shouldn't be possible. Perhaps his mind is finally breaking under the sheer pressure. No, the agony is too vivid. He recalls a faint scent, perfume. A deadly hallucinogen had clouded his senses. Using tricks is pathetic, but he is a soldier. He readies his final stance, purging his mind. If eyes deceive, then they are useless. He closes them, relying on 1,000 days of training. To a grandmaster, vision is secondary. He feels the ripple in the air. The predator is close. He lunges, but his movements are sluggish. How far the mighty disciple Simon has fallen from grace. He swings wildly at shadows, a broken warrior lost in the dark. The woman watches, deeply amused. The phantom prepares the final blow. Her name isn't just a title, she is a literal ghost of the blade. Meanwhile, the sun rises over the capital, but one student has love troubles on his mind today. Yuna listens to his complaints. Is love always this agonizing? He's been ghosted by his secret crush. He spammed the teacher with messages, but got nothing. Yuna tells him he's just being a creep. He proves she used to care, showing off their old chat logs. She even sent him photos once. Since yesterday, she's gone dark. He asks Yuna for advice, then realizes she's not the romantic type. Kim listens to their banter, his eyes cold and focused. His mind is already miles away. They beg for Kim's help against Yuna's teasing, but Kim has a secret meeting by the freezing sea. He stands on the slopes, eyes searching for pirates. The girl arrives, sensing a heavy aura of death. Her dogs growl at the shifting air. Peter is silent. If only Simon had stayed by his side. Regret tastes like ash. If things were different, his brother would still be alive and breathing today. Peter's grief turns into a cold, murderous fury. From the shadows, a hidden spy watches their move. The informant reports back. The boss wants confirmation. Is that really the legendary Peter standing over there? He describes the scene. An old man, a girl, and a boy who suddenly vanished into thin air. Suddenly, a hand grips the phone. Kim is there, moving faster than the eye can ever track. Are you the one they call the new Simon? Kim's voice is a death knell through the receiver. The woman on the line freezes. She recognizes the aura. Kim identifies her as the infamous phantom. He mocks her confidence. He hopes she's ready because her luck has officially run out today. He crushes the spy's hand, muffled screams filling the air. Her death warrant has been signed in blood. Far out at sea, a yacht cuts the waves. The crew knows they are entering hell's doorstep. They head toward her home, a floating fortress, a ghost ship where no laws of man apply. The ghost cruise, the den of Simon's kidnappers. Its origin is a complete mystery to the entire world. But Peter knows the truth. They are backed by Japan's darkest shadow, an ancient guild of assassins. The legends speak of the Blade Phantom, the one who slaughtered the Yamagumi clan single-handedly years ago. During the leader's 60th anniversary, the sky turned red. That day, underworld history was rewritten forever. 2 monsters slaughtered 2,000 men. It wasn't a fight, it was a god-tier, bloody massacre. Calling it an incident is an insult. It was a one-sided annihilation that defied all logic. Not a single corpse remained. They vanished like mist, leaving only a legend and a massive bounty. Now, years later, the Phantom has returned. She claims she is the true successor to Glory's throne. She warns Peter to back off. To die a dog's death in the middle of nowhere is pathetic. She mocks his lack of backup, but Peter's gaze is fixed on the horizon, unyielding and terrifying. Numbers mean nothing to a god of war. Whether 10 or 10,000, none shall leave alive. They will pay for every drop of his brother's blood. The real nightmare has only just begun. The siblings whined about their gear, desperate to play bodyguard, but Kim's gaze remained ice-cold and firm. This was no game. He ordered them to stay back, yet they accused him of monopolizing the fun. For an assassin, death is the ultimate honor. They ignored his warnings as the massive yacht loomed ahead. A man approached, his presence commanding. It was Troy Unchain, the legendary weapons tycoon of DHA Corporation. Kim told the trembling president to get inside quickly. The air felt heavy with a suffocating, lethal tension. This was a floating abyss. The ship was packed with drugs, smuggled weapons, and the world's stolen treasures. Ordinary logic didn't exist here. Even the most powerful only boarded with that person's absolute, terrifying permission. Kim dismissed his debt casually. He owed nothing. Finally, the ghost vessel appeared, a silhouette of pure dread. Peter watched with narrowed eyes. He needed to see this ruler and weigh the true worth of their soul. He would be the judge. He would decide if this ghost deserved to keep their wretched, blood-stained life. On board, chaos erupted instantly. A man had just crushed a woman's skull with a heavy glass ashtray. A freezing voice echoed through the room. "Don't call her that. One more word and you'll meet death." She wasn't a boss. She was the lady. Simon, the legendary ghost of the sword, finally revealed herself. She looked deceptively fragile, but her companion, a man built like a mountain, radiated a terrifying killing intent. A drunk CEO mocked her. He threatened to have her discarded like trash with a single phone call. Bragging about his corporate status, he refused to move. He believed his money made him an untouchable god. Simon smiled darkly. If he wanted to feel intoxicated, she would gladly help him reach his final rest. Suddenly, the CEO's world shattered. Cold sweat poured down as his hands began to tremble with primal fear. He collapsed in seconds. Simon lamented how his vulgar presence had completely ruined the beautiful evening atmosphere. She crushed his windpipe under her heel. "Toss this garbage into the ocean," she commanded her silent henchmen. They obeyed without hesitation. The convulsing man was thrown overboard. Simon then turned her cold focus toward Peter. She knew he would come. This auction was the perfect bait since that mysterious phone call and gift. What would she do if Peter appeared? She smiled. She would kill him and reclaim every cent owed. She hungered for the hunt. Meanwhile, the brothers stood paralyzed by the ship's sickening, golden opulence. It was a floating palace of sin. A massive club and pool served the world's most corrupt elite. These people burned fortunes for sport. Kim looked at Jay, ensuring their hidden objective was ready for execution. "Ready since birth," Jay replied. To blend in, they grabbed mops. Perfection is the best cover for a killer. They played the humble servants perfectly. Not a single speck of dust could remain before the important guests. A wealthy tycoon barked an order. The brothers jumped to serve, hiding their lethal instincts behind fake smiles. The tip was unbelievable. They were handed a stack of cash just for mopping the blood-stained floors. Over 1,000,001 in seconds. They shared a look. Maybe being an assassin was the wrong career choice. Could they get rich just by cleaning? The irony faded as the auction hall lights dimmed into darkness. The host took the stage. The auction of the century was starting, and the first prize was a nightmare. Simon stood ready. Beside her was the man mountain. Kim realized she was the new saint of glory. The first item, 𝒊𝒍𝒊𝒕𝒂𝒓𝒚, an innocent name that carried the weight of 10,000 silent graves. It wasn't jewelry. It was a biochemical horror capable of erasing entire cities in mere minutes of agony. Peter was stunned. Could this girl truly be the successor to the legendary sword saint's devastating power? An old man gasped. This weapon was a ghost, supposed to be destroyed by the Soviets decades ago. It was more silent than a shadow and more lethal than any bomb. Every monster in the room craved it. 𝒊𝒍𝒊𝒕𝒂𝒓𝒚, the Russian arms king, roared. That weapon was stolen from his private, high-security vault. He ordered his thugs to seize the girl. They crossed the line, ignoring the freezing aura of death. They laughed, telling her to come quietly. They didn't see the Reaper standing directly behind her shoulder. "Slow down," she whispered. "It takes a few moments for the poison to truly melt your internal organs." Before they could blink, the thugs were screaming in agony. Peter's eyes widened in pure, unadulterated shock. He hadn't even seen her move. This was the true power of a ghost. The real battle began. Blood ran cold. As the crowd watched the men's faces literally liquefy before their eyes. Despite the horror, the phantom smiled and resumed the auction as if nothing happened. The bidding for that cursed item would start tomorrow at $200 million. Then she dropped a bombshell. One final, special item remained hidden from their sight. Greed and curiosity filled the room. What could possibly be worth such a mysterious buildup? She silenced the whispers, promising that every secret would be unveiled the following day. While buyers dreamed of treasure, Peter had only one thought: where was Simon hiding? From the stage, she scanned the retreating crowd, hunting for a ghost named Peter. President Choi was a nervous wreck, desperately heading toward dinner to calm his shaking hands. He warned his subordinates to be wary. On this ship, that woman was the ultimate predator. Of everyone he knew, she was the most unstable and dangerous monster he had encountered. But before he could escape, her chilling voice rang out, calling for President Choi. She mocked his avoidance, her eyes gleaming with a predatory hunger that froze his blood. She invited him to dine, a request that sounded more like an inescapable death sentence. Choi tried to stammer an excuse, terrified by the sheer intensity of her dark presence. As she drew closer, his bodyguards reflexively moved to shield him from the looming danger. Kim stepped forward, masking his lethal intent. "The president is unwell. I will go instead." Kim's eyes flashed with a coldness that belonged only to the legendary Peter himself. Frustrated, the Phantom watched as Kim escorted the president through the dimly lit corridor. She didn't expect such defiance from a young face. It was time to play. "Fine, I want company," she purred, inviting Kim on a date he couldn't refuse. As Kim approached, his sharpened senses picked up a strange, unnatural scent from her. She laughed at his hesitation, mocking how all men lose control in her presence. Her fingers brushed his lips, a snake marking its prey. "Don't you agree, little soldier?" The moment was shattered by the brothers, who arrived claiming to be the new cleaners. While they fought for her attention, Kim fought to regain his icy, professional composure. He buried his distraction deep. She sensed his change in aura and turned back. "You really are a lucky guy," she whispered, before disappearing into the shifting shadows. Kim exhaled sharply. For a split second, even his legendary focus had almost crumbled. Watching the brothers work, Kim began connecting the dots of this elaborate, deadly game. The duo focused on cleaning, hoping for tips, even offering to wash her feet. Inside her suite, the Phantom bathed while her young guard stood like an iron statue. She teased the stoic boy, wondering if he could handle the rising heat between them. She mentioned the massacre of 100 assassins and the fall of the great Nathaniel. That was Peter's legend, a 70-year-old man dealing death while at the door of graves. She doubted an old man could infiltrate this ship, but the young guard stayed silent. He knew the truth. Entering this floating fortress unnoticed was a tactical impossibility. If an imposter was on board, their only goal was the organization's absolute destruction. To draw them out, she had a method more effective than any interrogation. The guard grew pensive. The ghost wondered if this intruder was actually bothering him. She mocked him, asking if he was jealous of a man he hadn't even met. "I'm not jealous," he replied coldly, as Kim moved through the ship disguised as a waiter. Every step was calculated. Kim remembered Simon's warning about the concept of family. Peter was Simon's only true family, and he feared Peter would be the first to fall. Simon had begged him, "Don't get hurt," because Peter was their only hope for survival. Peter vows his brother won't die. His oath is absolute. Simon mocked his health, never expecting this devotion. Memories are still Simon, is his soul's family. He'd slaughter thousands to bring his brother home. While the auction roars, the predator stalks clues. Disguised as service, the killer prowls the ship. A fatal error: no Asians serve this vessel. Pirates seek to capture, but Kim welcomes blood. Kitchens run red, leaving a trail of corpses. Engine rooms become graveyards, yet Simon is missing. One room remains while greed peaks above. A Czech masterpiece mesmerizes the wealthy vultures. Millions are bid as high society monsters compete. The hammer falls, but the horror begins. Madame reveals her most precious crown jewel. Rarer than weapons, a biological masterpiece unveiled. A treasure of flesh prepared for one witness. a trap for legends who know its worth. Simon, the sword god, stands broken on stage. The fallen blade master, now a tragic spectacle. She baits his fury, wanting his blood boiling. Reveal yourself, or be hunted like prey. The audience gapes at the ruined hero. Her scout scans for the one anomaly. A monster hides among the greedy wolves. She finds his hate, the ghost has surfaced. Spotted, then vanished like a shadow. His killing intent lingers in the air. A storm of vengeance chilled her soul. The final test: can the legend survive? Bidding for Simon 10 million for blood. Pay now or watch him die today. Simon is bait, Peter is trapped. No cash, too many eyes, a desperate gamble. Force is impossible, the situation is detestable. A disciple's life worth less than steel. Abandoned and broken, he stands alone. She mocks his arm, calling him defective. 5 seconds left, the countdown starts. Time freezes as the killer calculates. 1 second remains, then a voice shatters. $20 million. The president intervenes. Cash for the hero, stopping the execution. The Phantom's plan is corporate crushed. Ties to glory, the war has changed. Sensing the shifting tides, she scans for final bids while Peter notices his boss's hand trembling with silent dread. The ghost seethed in the silence. Winning by default felt like a calculated insult, making her suspect a hidden trap. Shadows of conspiracy loom as Simon lies bedridden, while the president asks if this boy is Peter's long-lost comrade. It is indeed him, and though Peter fears for his safety, the president knows their fate was always tied to glory. Buying him painted a target on their backs, yet leaving him behind would have been Simon's certain death sentence. A chilling question remains. Was this chaotic outcome exactly what the ghost had orchestrated from the very beginning? The ship has become a floating tomb, but Peter remains calm, already weaving a web for their miraculous escape. A hidden ace rests up his sleeve as Peter prowls the corridors, finally locating the specialized help he requires. Dressed in borrowed luxury, the brothers grin, eager to know what their legendary friend demands of them this time. They've been swimming in tips, boasting that Peter could become a millionaire if he joined their lucrative hustle. Peter humors them before asking if they've forgotten their true ambition, to become unstoppable legends by his side. Reality hits like a physical blow. They had let themselves get distracted by the flash of easy gold and silver. The stakes are lethal, and only these two, who have scrubbed every inch of this vessel, hold the key to victory. They've mapped every shadow, even memorizing the footsteps of every high-ranking target currently breathing on this ship. Their invisible labor is about to bear fruit as Peter officially assigns them a top-secret A-rank extraction mission. Entering the dim room, Peter finds Simon shivering under a violent fever, a ghost of the man he once was. This wasn't the reunion he envisioned. His mind flashes back to a life of simple school uniforms and home-cooked meals. He remembers the fleeting dream of a peaceful life, where they could simply walk to school as ordinary students. But Peter scoffs at the fantasy. Soldiers with blood-stained hands can never truly learn to hold a student's pen. As Simon slips into autumn melancholy, Peter makes a vow. They will build a sanctuary of their own making. A specialized academy for the forgotten and the orphaned, a place where those cast aside by fate finally belong. Simon would finally be a scholar, while Peter shouldered the heavy operational costs of their brand-new future. Simon's eyes shimmered with a spark of hope before his stubborn pride flared, rejecting the offer of charity. He insisted on earning his own way and buying his own books, a warrior's dignity remaining intact even in sickness. Gazing at his fallen brother, Peter's only prayer is that Simon wakes up to fulfill that promise of a new life. Beyond the door, the president listens in silence, moved by the depth of Peter's loyalty to his dying friend. Meanwhile, the ghost is absolutely livid. That bastard Choi has systematically dismantled every single one of her masterpieces. Sculptures shatter against the floor as she shrieks in fury, cursing the man who dared to interfere with her designs. Her bloodlust boils over. She wants to rip his head off and hang it high for every passenger to witness. However, executing the head of the Daha group without the glory leader's blessing would be a catastrophic political risk. The ghost sneers, reminding her subordinates that on this lawless vessel, her word is the only divine authority. She orders a total purge of Choi and Simon, certain that the scent of blood will force Peter into the open. A sharp knock echoes. The president is confused, but Peter claims he simply ordered a late-night room service feast. Acting the part of a casual guest, Peter heads to the door, seemingly excited for a midnight meal. He praises the youth's initiative, and despite the unknown menu, the president finds himself looking forward to the break. But Peter returns with only tea, having sent the steak back for being as cold as a corpse's heart. Choi realizes the ghost is making her move. Skipping a meal is fine, but he worries for the growing boy. Peter assures him he's fine, promising to finish his business and return before the tea loses its warmth. Stepping into the dim corridor, Peter enters a room where the air is heavy with the scent of fresh iron. He steps over the broken bodies of assassins, noting that 60 degrees is the only acceptable temperature for service. Since they served the tea at 75 degrees, Peter concludes they have failed miserably as hosts and as killers. The lone survivor trembles. They are 20 armed men, yet this bodyguard faces them with only 2 salt shakers. Peter's gaze turns predatory as he prepares to show them just how lethal a common object becomes in his hands. The real slaughter begins now. If you're craving the next chapter, hit that bell and subscribe to the channel. Don't miss the legendary conclusion. We will see you all next time for more high-octane manhwa action.